He then he then built ambitious labs from 0 to 3 million in revenue. Today, Alim leads CloserCoach.ai, an AI operating system for sales teams, and manages an investment fund backing high growth startups. So now I'm going to hand over the controls to Alim, and you can jump right in.
Let's go. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Sweet. Right on. Thanks. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Welcome in. Today's Saturday, April 11th, and it's going to be a long 3 hours, but a fun one today. I hope everybody's comfortable, got some coffee, a tea, water, a snack. Today, we're going to be jumping in to AI coding. I understand that this is IPN West, and many of us, I believe in the chat, are from Silicon Valley. I know y'all drink different water out there in the valley, so I'm not going to take it easy on you. I am going to assume that you know the basics and fundamentals of software development. And if you don't, I apologize. But I want to kind of push the boundaries. If you guys have seen me before, you may have watched my YouTube videos on YouTube, or you may have seen me at IPN Summit, where I did an introduction lesson for AI coding. So I'm going to try to push the boundary and get harder and harder every time I see our community. So if you are not comfortable, there's plenty of resources on my YouTube channel, and I'll tell you guys all about that so that you can get caught up. But let's jump right into it. Sweet. And feel free to use the chat for any questions that you might have. I did prepare a guide today to help us get through. I need to restart my Zoom real quick to grant permissions. I'm using a brand new computer, and this is the first time I'm sharing. So just give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
He's gone. I'll just remind everyone that at the end, I'm going to share with you a survey link, and that survey link will help us out to provide better content and programs for you in the future.
All right. Thanks for your patience. I'm back. All right. So in the chat, I dropped a guide. So I put together a workshop guide that I'm going to use to kind of navigate through our session today. This workshop guide has plenty of useful links that you guys can all access at your own. I did drop it in the chat, so feel free to open that up. Let's get started. All right, so in today's AI coding workshop, my goal is to turn you guys from wherever you are today into the owner and a founder of a full-on revenue generating startup. So literally in the next 3 hours today, we are going to design, develop, launch, and monetize an entire application from start to finish. We're all going to be building the same exact app. We're all going to be using AI. You don't need to know anything about coding. You don't need to have any coding experience. This is going to be hard. I will not lie to you one bit. This is going to be hard. If you can keep up and you feel confident in keeping up, you are more than welcome to follow along. If you're not, I highly recommend you kind of just take, high level steps, maybe set up accounts, maybe get started on various components of the software today. But you may get lost step by step, and I don't want to frustrate or discourage you all. So just take it easy. Even if you understand 25% of the things that we go through today, I think you are going to win. I do want to foster completion, and so I won't slow down too much. I will pause for questions. So what I'd like everybody to do is not hesitate to ask questions in the chat. I've been teaching online for like 5 years now, so I can navigate the chat pretty well. So feel free to blast questions in the chat, and I'll periodically stop to answer those questions. And if there's something urgent, like my mic goes out or my video goes out or something, catastrophic happens, I'll leave someone should have my phone number. Someone should have me on WhatsApp. Just feel free to ring my cell in case something catastrophic happens, or just unmute and be like, Aleem, we can't hear you. And I'll make sure that my phone is near me, so you guys can hit or somebody can hit me on WhatsApp, if something happens. Cool. So let's jump in. Yes, the recording will be shared. I did just request recording, and I believe it got accepted. So the recording will be shared, and we'll post it on a link for everyone to review afterwards in case you get lost and you want to follow back along. Cool. So it's 5 p.m. EST. We're going to go till 8. We'll hustle for about an hour and a half. We'll take a 15-minute break. And then the last hour, we'll push all the way through and we'll hard stop in 3 hours. Um, let's get going. Sweet. So welcome to today's AI coding workshop. My name is Aleem Charania. I was born in India, raised in the Bay Area, which is why we're doing this because I'm spreading the love back to the Bay. I'm from Marin County, Jamaica. Shout out Marin. It's just 20, 25 people at this point. We're a small Jamaica up right 50 miles north of San Francisco. We don't get a lot of love, so please come visit. It is an awesome community, and that's where I'm actually from. I went to school at San Jose State. Now I live in Atlanta, Georgia. So I rep the Southeast now, but home is always going to be California. So happy to be here in front of all of y'all today. You may have seen me around Santa Clara. I even spent some time in Orange County. Uh, I'll always say I'm from California. California is always home. I just live in Atlanta now, and I'll tell you a bit about the story. Cool. So my name's Aleem. I'm a founder and AI builder. I'm now leading a company called Closer Coach. We're building an AI sales enablement and training software for high ticket B2C sales reps. We're a mobile app. Think of us like Gong and Duolingo had a baby. That's Closer Coach. Um, I started my first company at age 20 when I moved to Silicon Valley. I was at San Jose State and I was recruited to join a sports tech startup called Season Share. We built season ticketing software for the San Francisco 49ers, the Orlando Magic, the San Antonio Spurs. We ended up scaling that business to over 50 NCAA, NBA, NFL teams. I was only 20 and I had no idea what I was doing. But more importantly than that, I was writing every single line of code by hand, like literally every character of code by hand. There was no GitHub Copilot at the time. There was no AI at the time. And it would take me entire semesters of college to build like one little feature. And the product that we're all going to build today, no joke, would have taken me probably an entire year to build in the past. So today we're going to see how quickly generative AI allows people like us to build software, and you're going to see what the boom is all about. I'm sure a lot of us are hearing the headlines, reading the news, maybe we're even seeing it in front of our own eyes. The impact that AI has had on society as a whole, but we're going to see why it's actually exponentially better or exponentially more efficient, and why we're going to see an exponential growth in innovation because of how quickly you can build software. So yeah, built my first company at age 20. We scaled that up to over 10 million in revenue. Ended up exiting my position there to join PrizePicks. Many of y'all have even heard of PrizePicks. I was the second engineer on the team, employee number 19. We had 2,000 users, and I helped them scale to 2.5 million users and the number one app on the App Store. And then 6 months ago, PrizePicks was acquired for $2.5 billion. And a lot of the groundwork that I had placed my first 3 years at PrizePicks was the foundation for our engineering department. But the company's over 300 employees, and we did really well. From there, I built an education brand called Ambitious Labs. We were an AI coding boot camp. I ran that for about 2 years, scaled it to 300K a month in revenue, sold it to private equity last October, and now I'm back building SaaS in the sales space. So yeah, I love building. I run a YouTube channel as well, where I have over 35,000 subscribers, and I teach apps, startups, entrepreneurship, angel investing. So in the doc, you will see a link to follow me on YouTube. I post new videos every week, and I don't hold anything back. Like I go behind the curtains, I share my screen. They're really deep videos, and I hope you guys enjoy them. Feel free to add me on. So, like I said, today's workshop is intense. You will be challenged, but by the end of today, you would have designed, developed, launched, and monetized a real SaaS product using real technologies, real code, and real tools. I'm not going to tell you how to use Lovable or some, wrapper tool that's really expensive and charges you a ton of money. We're going to go straight into Claude Code, and we're going to be building like raw technology using the rawest tools. In other workshops that I've done or other, tutorials out there on YouTube, you might see people, promote Lovable, promote Flutterflow. And at this point in time, I've made this a strong thesis that everyone should just learn how to use Claude Code. I think Claude Code is the most powerful AI coding technology, and it does enough abstraction of the hard stuff so that anybody, beginner or not, can develop high quality software. Um, Cool. So we'll take it in 4 steps today: designing, developing, launching, and monetizing. Cool. So part number one, full stack software development. This is, I think, the most important thing that everyone needs to understand before they jump into coding and using Claude Code. Full stack software. So every app that you've ever used is made of the same layers. And understanding this gives you the mental model that you will need to approach generative AI software development. So first you have a front end, right? And maybe a lot of us know this, but for those who don't, the front end. The front end is the user interface that you're tapping, touching, and feeling whenever you're using a mobile app, right? Or you're using a web app. For example, everything on your computer right now that you see on the screen that you're clicking on, that's called your front end, otherwise known as your user interface. So when users interact with an application, they're typically clicking on buttons, forms, dashboards, and animations, right? This is generally rendered using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are all front end technologies. Nowadays, we have frameworks like React.js, which is probably the most popular front end framework on the planet. And React.js is used to manipulate HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to build you really high quality, high performing apps. So just remember that React is front end. Um, React has UI uh, a UI library called Tailwind, which is what we're going to use. Tailwind, think of it as like a bunch of Lego blocks for cool looking UI. So if you type in Tailwind CSS, actually don't type in, just watch me. You'll see here that Tailwind CSS essentially gives us like building blocks or like UI components that we can reuse to build really cool UI. It does look a little complicated, right? Like you're looking at all this code and you're like, yo, like I don't want to do this. Well, the cool thing is you don't have to. You're going to get the benefits of using a UI library like Tailwind, but you're going to generate it using AI. So your product is going to look very modern, professional. I know a lot of people, when they hear about building something themselves, they go, oh, well, is it going to be high quality or like, is it going to look kind of crappy? Like, no, if we use the right UI component libraries, we can make our product look very high quality without needing to like invest in a Figma UI designer, hire a UX designer, maybe pay somebody on Upwork or Fiverr to do it. Like we can just reuse some of these component libraries and your app will look really beautiful. So that's the front end. Um, do we all get what a front end is? Just hit me with a yes or a thumbs up in the chat, and I'll ask you throughout the session today to just give me some confirmation before I move on. So just hit me with the yes if you understand what a front end is. Sweet. Now we'll move into the back end. So the back end is the brain of your application. So whenever you click and interact with an app, typically it triggers some sort of function on a server somewhere. A server might be hosted somewhere like on AWS. You guys have probably heard of AWS. You may not know like what it does. You just know that it's this big compute engine that Amazon's built. Well, AWS is where developers like you and I can host our application. So for example, if we create a new account on an application and an email gets sent to that new account, well, that email has to be sent from a server. Okay. And the server would typically be on something like AWS. Your server is essentially a tiny little piece of a computer that you rent out from AWS in their data center. So like in the middle of, Ohio, you have this huge data center and there's a ton of computers in there and you're just renting out a really small piece of it for 20 bucks a month, 10 bucks a month, or whatever, Amazon Web Services wants to charge you. And the more powerful the computer, the more users you have, the more computers you get to purchase from them, the more like RAM you get to purchase from them, compute power you get to purchase from them, the more money they make, the more money you pay. However, whenever you launch an app for the first time or a software for the first time, you're typically not paying much money. You can launch an entire software business in less than 10 bucks a month, plus a domain name. So for under 50 bucks, you can have an entire software business live. And in many cases, you can even scale up to a couple thousand users for less than $50 a month. So your backend is what's handling your authentication. So a sign up and sign in system, right? Maybe it's handling like sending emails. Maybe you're integrating with AI. You might have an idea for an AI SaaS app these days, right? Maybe something that uses AI to automate, I don't know, you know, work or excuse me, quotes for roofing businesses or like invoice generation for pest control companies, right? Like these types of integrations you can do on the back end. Okay. You might also have payments, right? So if somebody submits a payment to you, you might want to process that payment, um, update your database with the payment details, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these kind of business logic or business automations would happen on the back end. Okay. We're going to use a technology called Node.js to build the APIs for our application. So you have a front end, and then you have the back end of an app. A front end and a back end talk to each other using APIs. How many of you have heard the word API before? But not just that. How many of you have heard the word API before, but don't know what an API actually is? I know you might be embarrassed to say it, but just say it. Be brave. Just say, yes, I don't know what it is. I've heard it before. Or say you do know you know what it is. I'd like to know that because a lot of people are hearing the word APIs, especially more and more as coding gets easier. People are hearing the word APIs more, but they still don't quite know what they do. Okay, cool. So we have a couple brave soldiers who said they don't know. So an API is essentially like a connection between two systems in the world of software. So you have APIs to send emails. So all an API is like a little function or a trigger, or like imagine it's like a lever you pull that does stuff. And typically one API does one thing. So for example, if you want to send an email, there are API services out there like Resend. Resend is literally all it is an API, and essentially, all this API does is send an email. It can integrate with pretty much any coding language. You'll see here that like it offers integration support for Node.js, Ruby, Python, blah, 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 like a ton of different coding languages. But literally all this API does is send emails. So if you're ever building a software application or you're building an automation that sends an email, you're going to need an API to send an email. So you can sign up for Resend for totally free. They have a free tier here. It's like $0 per month. You get 3,000 emails a month, and you can just use it to send emails. Like, look at how easy it is. You call this function await resend.emails.send. You type who the email is coming from, who the email is going to, the subject line, and then the content of the email. This is an API. An API is just a little connection lever that you pull and it does one thing. There are APIs for literally everything. Like you have a smart switch in your home, there's probably an API for it. You have, you know, a garage door, there's an API for it. You have a payment processor, there's an API for it. There's literally an API for anything. And if I'm you guys and I'm thinking about like, hey, I want to build an application that, you know, helps people pay down their debt by logging into their bank account and pulling the extra money they have every month in savings and paying down their debt with it. Well, the question you should be asking yourself is like, oh, is there an API for bank accounts? Like, how can I find the levers and the connections to connect to somebody's bank account? Well, lucky for you, there is. Plaid is probably one of the biggest like financial API providers. You guys have maybe even used Plaid if you've ever logged into your bank account from like chase.com or you've ever made a payment to somebody, you've likely seen it says like this website uses Plaid to securely transfer money from your bank account, right? So Plaid is probably the most popular financial API. So I hope we kind of drove that point home and you guys understand what an API is. So APIs are these connections that you can build your app on top of, or excuse me, integrate into your app to bring cool features to life. Okay. So your front end talks to your back end using APIs. You can build your own APIs that essentially do like custom things for your app. Okay. You can also integrate with APIs that are like external, right? Like I just said, Stripe or Plaid or Resend. Can I get a thumbs up or a yes in the chat if we all understand APIs at this point? Sweet. Now we go into databases. Okay, so databases are your memory or your storage. So
Memory
like,
or your storage. So like,
can we get everybody
can we
muted?
get everybody mute?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I came off mute. I have a question. Um, how can you tell if a certain API exists? Like, I know you mentioned Plot exists to check in through like banking systems, but how do you know if a certain API like that exists for your own use case?
We can just ask Claude at this point. I mean, I think that's like the easiest thing to do is when you are planning your software, you can start asking Claude or ChatGPT. I prefer using Claude for tech related architecture. So you can talk to Claude and be like, hey, I want to build an app that does this. Can you brainstorm APIs that exist for integrating XYZ? And I think that's probably your best bet. Or you can just Google search it. Like for example, yesterday I came up with an idea for I want to automate iMessages. Like I want an API that sends an iMessage. There's APIs out there that send SMSs, like Twilio, for example, like the green message that you get whenever you're texting someone with an Android. But I was like, yo, like, is there an API out there to send iMessages? So all I did was come to Google and say iMessage API. And then I found like a bunch of these APIs, like SendBlue. For example, I know the founders of SendBlue, and they offer a API where you can send iMessages programmatically. So you can see here, same exact situation. They have sendblue.sendMessage, and you can send iMessages directly from this API. So that's kind of my thought process, like talk to Claude or then just straight Google it. And then I would love to answer
Thank you.
questions. I'll stop like periodically to answer questions in the chat and on verbal. 3 hours will fly before we know it, and if I answer questions now, I'll fall behind. So just let me pause, and I'll get to all the questions at once. Thank you, thank you. Let's roll. Cool. The third one is a database. All right. So when you're interacting with an application, your data has to be stored somewhere, right? Like for example, all of you guys may have a DoorDash account. Okay. You go to DoorDash, you go to your orders tab or your Amazon account and you go to your orders tab. Well, it has all your orders right there, right? Well, how does it know about your orders? Well, that's because there's a database somewhere, and that database is typically a SQL database or an SQL database. Think of a database like a huge spreadsheet, right? Like a Google Sheet, and your data is stored there um, in a big Google Sheet somewhere in the cloud or in a server. And this Google Sheet, essentially for DoorDash, would just represent all your orders. So you'll have like an order ID, you'll have the date the order was placed. You'll have the credit card number or credit card authorization. You will have the item name. You'll have like number of items, right? And you will have all the different or columns that represent a specific attribute about your order. So I'm explaining it this way to really like simplify what a database is. All it is a huge collection of spreadsheets that have your data in it. And today we are going to use a software called Supabase. Um, I thought I pulled it up. We're going to use Supabase to create our database. It used to be that you had to like provision your own databases using AWS and you had to set up all the security rules and stuff yourself. But nowadays, with technologies like Supabase, you literally can just make a free account and you can get your own Postgres database. Postgres is a type of SQL database where you can read and write and save information. Supabase also handles your authentication. So you can add user signups and logins directly from Supabase. You can do what's called edge functions, which means like trigger emails and stuff directly from Supabase. You have access to a storage bucket. So imagine like when you upload a profile picture to an app, right? Well, where does that image get saved? Well, we need to create a storage bucket or some place to save all the files, right? If you've ever uploaded a file to a website, typically what happens is that there's a storage bucket somewhere in the cloud. Think of it like a folder on your computer. You know how you guys all have folders and you can put stuff in on your computer? Think about a storage bucket as like a folder. It's just a fancy name for a folder on a server somewhere in the cloud, right? Somewhere in Ohio that I was telling you about in AWS. Like you have access to a little folder and all the data, or excuse me, all the files that you upload get sent to that little folder. So essentially what we can do with Supabase is we can like not just rent the server from AWS, but like we can get all the software built on top of it too for like databases, authentication, and all the other stuff. So that's why it makes it really easy to create software applications because nowadays you don't have to set all this stuff up. All you need to do is just plug it into all these technologies and it makes it way easier. And you're going to see that today. So that's your database. So lastly, APIs are what kind of connect all these things together. So your front end, your back end, your database, they're all connected with APIs, and you don't have to write code today to do that. Like you'll see how easy it is to actually hook all these things up together. Cool. So by a show of hands or by a vote, can people tell me here, A, have you had an idea for an app? And then if yes, is it a web app idea that you have, or is it a mobile app idea that you have? Because both are fundamentally a bit different in how you approach them. And so I'd like to know web versus mobile. If you've had an idea for a web app, type web in the chat. If you've had an idea for a mobile app, type mobile in the chat. And I need to see like 20 people's answers here. I see some friends in the chat. This is cool. I love being able to teach friends. What's up, friends? All right. So I got mobile, hybrid, web, mobile, web, mobile, web, mobile, web, mobile. Okay. It looks like 70/30 web to mobile, which is pretty, or excuse me, 70/30 mobile to web, which is pretty cool because my experience is in mobile. And I think mobile apps are the biggest opportunity right now because of many, many reasons. So I'll talk about that. However, both technologies are fundamentally different in the way that you approach them. Web apps typically use React to build HTML-based apps. Web apps that you see on a browser are rendered using HTML. HTML is literally the only thing that a browser can understand. Like it doesn't understand anything else. And generally, you use JavaScript-based technologies to build a web app like React.js. Okay. Next.js is a framework on top of React that essentially does like a lot of extra stuff for you. Um, if you're building a software product that's a web app, the gold standard right now is React and Next.js. And if you say that to people, you will sound smart and you will know what you're talking about. And just trust me on that one. Um, most modern web apps are built using React and Next.js. You can build a mobile app using React and Next.js as well. However, it's not going to be a native mobile app. It's going to be a website that compiles to a mobile responsive web app that just gets rendered on what looks like an app. There's nothing wrong with doing this. I don't want to scare anybody away. There's nothing wrong with doing this. In fact, the version of PrizePicks that I built was a cross-platform web app, and we scaled it to 2.5 million users. Nobody even knew about it. At the end of the day, you shouldn't really think too hard about this decision. Just pick something and go. If you expect to build both a web app and a mobile app, you should start with the web app first. Like if you expect web to be where your traffic is, the question that I get asked a lot is like, should I build a web or a mobile app? The answer to that question really depends on the type of users that you want to serve. You really need to step into the shoes of your people, of your target audience, and ask yourself, how do they go about their life on a day-to-day basis? If your app is solving a problem for businesses or managers or leaders, those managers, leaders, and business owners are likely sitting behind a computer in an office and they're doing their larger management level work on a desktop, right? Or they are, or you need to ask yourself, how big is the problem or what impact or like how much weight does the problem that I solve have? For example, like if you're asking somebody to like monitor their brokerage accounts and their stock accounts, well, generally those types of things you don't want to do on mobile. There are some apps that do really well for, stocks and stuff on mobile. However, like if you're asking somebody to manage their financial portfolio of like $10 million, say that you're targeting financial advisors and building a SaaS for them, well, those financial advisors aren't going to be making $1 million decisions on their phone, right? They're going to want to be situated in a high performing computing environment like a desktop or a laptop. And so you need to really think about how big of a problem is it that you're solving because you don't want to accidentally try to solve it. You don't want people to be making these really weighted decisions on a very small interface. You need to give them more real estate to play with. So if that's the case, then go with web. However, mobile apps are great for B2C. So if you're going direct to consumer, mobile apps are great. The majority of the population actually doesn't even compute on a laptop. So if you're trying to build a mass market product or you're trying to build a product that is catered toward people who are on the go, then mobile apps are really good. Furthermore, if you're trying to build a subscription-based product that's for B2C customers, mobile apps are also the better way to go. Most mobile apps have companion web apps, but you just need to ask yourself, like, am I going B2C? And if I am I trying to make money on subscriptions? Am I trying to solve a problem that can be solved quickly? Because you'll notice that most mobile apps, you can be in and out of them quite quick, within a minute or two. Whereas whenever you're interacting with the web app, like Stripe, right? Or excuse me, your email or your bank account or brokerage accounts, like those are things you're really like focusing on, and you typically take over 30 minutes to solve those problems, right? So if you're trying to build something quick, mobile app is good. If you are trying to build something that's heavy, then I think a web app is better. So that's my explanation for like web versus mobile. But now you're probably wondering like what technology do you use? If you're a beginner mobile app founder and you've never built a mobile app before, right now, in my opinion, the best AI-powered iOS app builder out there is called Super App. It is an AI app builder that is built on top of Claude Code Opus. So it uses the technology of Claude, but simplifies it and hyper focuses on native iOS mobile apps. Super App is the only AI coding software out there that actually writes real Swift. So Swift, okay, let me make sure that I back up here. JavaScript is the language of the web. The browser, like Google Chrome and Safari, these browsers understand JavaScript. Your iPhone, like your iPhone is like super optimized to understand Swift. So as you guys know, like Apple makes their own chips now, right? So Apple makes their own chips and they made their own coding language called Swift to talk to each other really easily and really well. So when you're building iOS apps, the absolute best language that you can choose is Swift because that is the native iOS language. Like at the chip level, like Swift and the chip, like the actual microchip inside your phone, talk to each other very nicely. Like that's the best way I can describe it in simple terms. When you start using other technologies like Flutter or React Native, or there's been other cross platforms, essentially what you're doing is you're adding a bunch of layers on top of Swift, and it takes a lot of time for the iPhone and the technology in the middle to translate all that stuff down to the Swift code or down to the device code. Does that make sense? So it's like you're adding a bunch of translation bloat, and you will see over time that the performance is not that great because you're adding a bunch of bloat on top of it. It's not extremely noticeable, and it shouldn't be something that you like get upset about today. But if I'm you, I would definitely, and I know for a fact I want to build an iOS app, I would recommend going with something like Super App so you can build a direct native Swift-based app because this takes out a lot of the like thinking for you. Swift does not work on Android. Android has their own um, programming language, just like Apple does, called Kotlin or Java. Same exact story. Like whenever Android came out, they said, "Hey, we're going to make these chips for these phones. These Android apps are going to use Java or Kotlin." Apple did the same thing. You guys know Apple loves to own all their own stuff. So Apple did the same thing and they built their own coding language called Swift. So if you are building an app using Super App, you won't be able to build for Android. However, I'll just tell you one thing that no one wants to hear, but it's the damn truth, is if you want to make money with apps, you want to build iOS apps. Statistically speaking, I'm so sorry. I know there's a bunch of Android geeks out there, but statistically speaking, iOS apps generate more revenue. Income per user is significantly higher for iPhones. I think it's very skewed because most second and third world countries use Android, so I think it kind of bogs it down. I'm sure that doesn't that sample doesn't apply, or like that conclusion doesn't apply to the sample size here in today's audience. But generally speaking, there's 80% revenue generated on iOS apps. The average revenue per user is much higher on iOS apps. So I would just recommend you focus on iOS. At PrizePicks, our split was 70% iOS, 20% web, 10% Android. It's just that your lifetime value of customers is just always going to be significantly higher on iOS. Like think about it, like the cheapest Android is like $50 and like the cheapest iPhone that actually works is like 800, right? So it's just the facts. It's not my opinion, it's just the facts. And so if I'm you and I'm trying to build a startup, I would recommend focusing on iOS, web. Android is good for like mass market. If you're trying to build a small, widely used solution, like internationally, I think Android is great because you can reach a lot more people and you'll get downloads faster on Android. It's just that your average revenue per user is going to be a lot smaller on Android. Sorry for the Android people out there. But all right, cool. I think I beat this one on the head. However, today, guys, we are going to build a web app. If you want to build a mobile app, today you will learn a lot of the same skills that translate over. You can check out the last couple of videos on my YouTube channel, and we have some tutorials on Super App. Um, but today we're going to focus on web, but the same stuff will apply. All right, let's roll. So now we're at 30 minutes in. We're kind of done with the fluff. We're going to get into starting to build. So we are going to use Claude Code today to build a Next.js web app. Okay. And Claude Code is taking the internet by storm. A lot of you have probably heard of Claude Code but never used it. I would love to get a show of hands or text in the chat. Say yes if you've used Claude Code before. Say no if you've not used Claude Code before. This will fundamentally change how I approach the session today. Damn, that's a lot of messages. Holy moly, that was fast. Okay, I guess you guys are excited about this. Okay, we have a ton of no's. So good. I'm gonna change your lives today. Let's do it. All right, so we're going to use Claude Code. Claude Code is a generative AI coding agent provided by Anthropic. If you have a Claude account, you get access to Claude Code. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of walk you guys through how I would go about this. So I'm heading to Claude Code dot, or excuse me, I'm heading to Claude.com and I'm going to log in with my account. I'll stop in a moment for you guys to follow along, but for now, um, you can kind of just see my screen here. So when you log into Claude.ai, you'll be asked to log in. And then on the left-hand side right here, let me pop this out. On the left-hand side right here, you'll see code. So if you go to Claude.ai/code, it's going to tell you to download the Claude Code app. So I'll go to Claude AI/code and I'm going to download the Claude Code app. I'm using a brand new computer, and the reason I'm doing that, I did it intentionally because A, I got a new computer, and then B, I wanted to show you guys how to set it up from scratch because I imagine a lot of y'all don't have it set up. So I was like, hey, what better way to set up a new computer than to do it with you guys? So I'm literally setting up Claude Code for the first time on this machine, so it should be the same way that y'all do it. So you'll see that I clicked on that download and it's now downloading to my downloads at the top. Okay. Then we have the Claude Code terminal down here that it's asking us to download. I think this is the best, one of the best ways to learn Claude Code. And I would like everybody to do it. I know it might be daunting because not a lot of us have used the terminal before. So I'm going to reshare my screen and show you like my whole screen. All right. Is this the right way to do it? Yeah. Okay. So you guys see my whole screen here and it says terminal. Disclaimer, I don't know if this is going to work on Windows, and I have not used Windows in like 20 years. So if you have Windows today, you are on your own. I'm sorry, I can't help you. But if you're on Mac, then you'll be just fine. So here we go. We're going to copy this link inside the terminal right here where it says curl. We're going to copy this link. And then if you guys are using Mac, you can do Command space on your computer and type the word terminal. Okay. You can click on the terminal and that will open up this really daunting looking box that is allowing you to talk directly to your computer's operating system. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Okay, cool. So I have gone ahead and like zoomed in a bunch, and you'll see here that this is my terminal. Your terminal is essentially you talking directly to the computer's operating system and not using like this GUI, or excuse me, not looking at all this pretty stuff on your screen and be able to click. So you're essentially talking directly to your computer's operating system. When we were on the Claude website, it said here there was a command that we can paste. So let's grab this. We'll click this copy button. We'll come to the terminal. We'll paste it and hit enter. All right. You're probably going to feel really, really cool if you're not a computer scientist because you're using the terminal. And I highly recommend starting to use the terminal a bit more. It will increase your confidence and it will kind of get you over the edge of like, hey, this is probably really hard. It's actually not as hard as it seems. And you're going to have to get used to navigating the terminal a bit when you are, working with AI tools and when you're working with software. So all we did was kind of paste that line and hit enter. And if things go smoothly, it should just be done. Like you shouldn't have to do anything. Um, so it says up here, Claude Code successfully installed, and does say some setup notes. Native installation exists, but local/bin is not in your path. Run, echo, blah, 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 blah. If you guys are really curious, I would recommend anytime you see something that's like gibberish to you, just copy it and go to Claude or go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, can you explain this to me like I'm 10? And that way you guys can upskill yourself and kind of bridge the knowledge gap rather than just like thinking everything is magic. You can, kind of challenge yourself to learn the basics. So what this is telling me right here is um, I'm looking for a cache file, like I'm looking for a folder that represents my cache, and it's not in a global path called, or a global file directory called path. What I just said might not make sense to you, but all it's saying is like, yo, I'm looking for a file, but it's not where I'm looking for it. So what I need you to do is like put that file where I need it. That's what your computer is telling you. So what I'm going to do is put the file where I need it, where the computer needs it, and that's all I'm going to do. All I did was copy this with Command C, and then I pasted it with Command V. All Echo does is just like paste a piece of text in a specific file. Okay. And then, sorry, I did that kind of fast, but if you ever want to delete what's on your screen, you can just type the word clear and hit enter. It's a very bad habit of mine that I just clear everything in the chat. So I'll probably do that a lot on accident. Okay. So if you've done that, now you have access to Claude Code in your terminal. All you need to do is type the word Claude. Let me show you that again. Okay, all you need to do is type the word Claude and hit enter, and it's just going to open Claude Code. That's how easy it is to set up Claude Code. Now it says, let's get started. Choose the text style that looks best with your terminal. I love dark mode. Like, I'm just going to keep it dark mode. And I just hit enter, okay? Claude Code can be used with your Claude subscription or build on API usage through your account. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the news, but unfortunately, Claude Code now only works with API usage-based billing. They don't allow the pro tier anymore. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I did see some news. So what I would recommend is try the Claude Code account. So just click enter, okay? Um, and then what we can do is you'll see a pop-up open to log in. I'm going to log in with one of my accounts. I personally use API-based billing, but for sake of simplicity today, I'm just hoping it works with Cloud Code Pro. Cloud Code Pro only costs $20 per month, and I'm pretty positive you're going to get a ton of usage out of it. So I recommend getting it. It does look like it connected, and if you guys have issues with it, just kind of type in the chat. Um, and I did see a message saying, "Can you share a link?" Yes, I'm going to share a link to Cloud Code. Cool. So it does say login successful. Press enter to continue. So I'm gonna hit enter. It tells me Claude can make mistakes and only use it with code you trust. I actually did have this issue last week in my company. Like we all use Claude Code, and there was some malicious code that got like injected. So you do need to be a bit careful. I'm gonna click use recommended settings. Um, and I'll click yes, I trust this folder. I might change this later, but for sake of today, we're going to trust the folder. Okay, cool. Can you access this without a subscription? You can access without a subscription, but you're not going to get anywhere today. You're going to get stopped very fast. So I do recommend starting a subscription. Um, I know $20 may not be accessible to a lot of people. Um, if it's not, you can DM me privately and I can give you my API key for a small period of time. Um, and you guys can just kind of let me pay for you for a small period. It won't cost much, but like, um, yeah, I highly recommend just getting Claude Code Pro. Like, you're gonna make a lot more than $20 in your life. Um, and if you aren't using it today, you will get left behind. I have no other way of saying it. Everybody here should have a $20 a month Claude Code subscription. It's absolutely the best $20 you'll spend in your life. I think you can forego a couple of Starbucks or a DoorDash and enable yourself with AI. Cool. For those on Windows, do you need Git? Yes, you will need Git, and I will show you how you can install that right now. Um, did anybody else receive the same kind of error that looks like Abida is getting in the chat? If you have a Git error, just let me know. Feel free to drop like screenshots of what you're seeing, and if you are, then I can backtrack and show you the Git stuff. Okay, cool. So here we go. Let me show you how to get past that issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to install Git. So the way that you do that is you um, type this command. Give me one moment. I'll get it for you. Okay. Well, the thing is you're on Windows, and I unfortunately can't help you on Windows because the Windows commands are different than Mac, and I don't know. But here's what I would do. I would take a screenshot of that error that you have. And then I would head over to Claude or ChatGPT, whatever you like using, And then I would just say, hey, I'm getting this error. Can you help me solve it? Um, hey, I'm getting this error on Windows. Can you help me fix it? Right? And then let Claude kind of handle it for you. And if you are a proficient Windows user, like it may seem we have in the chat, feel free to jump in and help our fellow colleagues. All right. So it does look like Claude gave me some instruction here. Is anybody else using Mac and have they gotten that Git error? One way you can check to see if you got that error, if you have the Claude desktop app, which you saw me download a second ago, right? I downloaded it, but I already have it installed, so I didn't install it again. If you have the Claude desktop app and you open Claude, you can see code right here at the top right, and you'll actually see here that I'm running into the same issue. So it's actually good because I can help you guys all solve it with me. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and solve it on my computer. Maybe it does help some of our Windows users out there. But essentially, what's happening here is it says Git is required for local sessions. Run xcode select dash dash install in the terminal to install the command line tools. Then restart the app. Cool. So at least it's telling us what to do. But let me tell you what's happening here. Have you heard of GitHub? I imagine the answer is yes. A lot of people have heard of GitHub. GitHub is essentially where everybody stores their code, and it's where you will literally store your code. It's like the biggest Google Drive for code in the world. And whenever you're contributing code to a code base, you most likely use GitHub. Okay. And so GitHub is just a interface around a technology called Git, Git. Git is a command line interface, fancy word for it's something that you use on your command line. So if you watch my screen, if I type the word Git, um, if I were to have it installed, it essentially allows me to interact with code that is being saved on GitHub. So I can say stuff like git push, git pull, git commit, and it allows me to read and write code to a GitHub repository. Okay, these are big words. Think of a GitHub repository like a Google Drive folder, and that Google Drive folder just has all your code in it for a specific application. So a GitHub repository, if you ever hear that word, it's, hey, I'm setting up like a folder in GitHub. So I'll even show you. If you go to github.com, right, and I think everybody should have a GitHub account. So if you don't, please go ahead and make one. And I'm starting from a fresh computer here, so I will log in. And I'll log in. Cool. So this is my GitHub account, and you'll see here we have repositories on the left-hand side. These repositories, just like I said, are just Google Drive folders essentially that contain our code. I'm going to show you some code that is from an old project like this one. This is a project from a few years ago, but you'll see when you click on one of these repositories, you're going to see a bunch of folders and files in here. These folders and files represent my entire code base. And whenever I push code to it, like whenever I am writing code on my computer, essentially what I do is I update the code on this repository. And what's happening is that GitHub keeps track of all your changes for you. And it does this using a strategy called commits. So a commit is like you saying, hey, I wrote this code. I'm going to commit it to the code base. I'm going to like push it and say, hey, this is the code I want to, send to the code base and I want to contribute it to the code base. When you have a development team, you guys are all likely pushing a bunch of commits into this and you're going to see a bunch of different people. But if it's just you, you're only going to have one. That's a great question. GitHub has a fantastic free tier, and you don't need to pay for GitHub. You will be just fine on a free GitHub for a long, long, long time. So if I'm you today, so far we've set up two accounts. One account on Claude and Claude Code, one account on GitHub, and that's about it for right now. We're going to set up a couple more. So if you have GitHub account set up, now you kind of know what GitHub is for. But remember, this idea, GitHub is just a cool website to manage your repositories and your code. Git, is a technology. It's like a coding language almost that allows you to interact with GitHub. Okay, there's a difference. So what we're doing right now Claude Code is going to do the reading and writing to GitHub for you. That's like what Claude Code will do. That's like part of its superpowers. But in order for Claude Code to read and write to GitHub for you, you need to install Git on your computer so that Claude Code can do the Git stuff. Does that make sense? Did I lose anyone? Hit me with a yes or ask a question. All right. If nobody said anything, I imagine I lost everyone. Is Git needed for Mac? Yes, it is needed for Mac. You absolutely need Git installed. And I'm going to show you how to install it, but first I need to make sure you guys understand why and the difference between Git and GitHub. Okay, we got a couple yeses.
I think everyone's just multitasking, Aline.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'll
Gets
take
like
it.
the knowledge base, right? That Claude's going to use to
Yeah,
library.
exactly. I would say it's the best analogy is a Google Drive for code. Okay, I'll accept the fact that everyone's multitasking. So let's roll. Um, so if we all kind of understand that, now we're going to set up Git. So one thing you can do is go to your terminal. Okay, and another cool small trick that you guys are probably seeing me do is I'm like exiting out of stuff in the terminal. What I do is I hold control and I hit C. Essentially, that will cancel anything out in the terminal. Maybe you've gotten stuck and you've just closed the terminal. That's like one way of doing it, but you can always just do Control C and that will cancel whatever you're on. So one thing that you can do is just type the word Git and hit enter. Okay. Your Mac might tell you the issue. My Mac is telling me my issue. It says, you've not agreed to the Xcode and Apple SDK license. You must agree to the license below in order to use Xcode. Press enter to display the license. So I'm just going to do what it says and hit enter. Now it's displaying this big license to me. Agreeing to the Xcode and Apple SDK license requires admin privileges. Please accept the Xcode license as the root user, e.g. sudo Xcode build license. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just grab this line of code. Don't grab the quotes. That quote won't get recognized. Grab what's inside the quote and paste it where it says sudo xcode build dash license. Then you're going to type the password of your computer. And it says again, you've not agreed to the Xcode license. You must agree. Press enter to display. I'm going to hit enter. And now it finally says, by typing agree, you are agreeing to the terms of the software license agreement. Any other response will cancel, agree or cancel. I'm going to type the word agree and hit enter. Okay. So it says you can review the license in Xcode's about window or at this file path. Okay. So notice the terminal is not as hard as it seems. It's getting easier for the average person because like the developers who are building these terminal-based programs are putting a bunch of like written English in here. It's not always like this, but I want to show you guys that it's not as bad as it seems if you are following directions of these technologies that are out there. So look, now what I'm going to do is type the word Git and hit enter, and you'll see a bunch of stuff come up on the screen. Essentially, what this is saying is, hey, Aleem, you said the word Git. I understand the word Git, and this is all the stuff that I can do with Git. All it's doing is giving us like a dictionary of commands that it can do for us. What this means is, okay, Aleem, you've successfully installed Git and it works. You can now do stuff with it. So if you guys type the word Git on your Mac and you see like the same stuff as me, like all these, commands, clone, init, add. If you see all this stuff right here, you don't see a crazy error message, then it means your Git is installed. So I'll pause for a second and I would love to hear in the chat, and I'll give you guys time. When you type the word Git, is it installed on your computer? At this point, I should be able to exit out of Claude. What I'll do is hit Command Q. Command Q quits an application, and then I'll open Claude again. Okay. So some people said that it's downloading, so I'll give you guys some time. So at this point, when I install Claude, I excuse me, when I install Git, I can click on code here and now it's gone. That like big red error is gone. Okay. So if that's the case, y'all, then we have successfully installed Git. All right. And now we are ready to start Claude coding. Okay. So you need two things on your computer to be a successful Claude coder. You need the Claude Code desktop app, and then you also need a terminal. And in terminal, we already set up our Claude Code in like CLI. CLI means command line interface. And essentially, when you type the word Claude on your computer, like in your terminal, you should be able to see maybe this air like this message that says accessing workspace, and you can hit enter. Okay. And what this is right here, I appreciate you, Sile. Thanks for the assurance there. Um, so essentially what you see here, y'all, is a interface where you can start talking to Claude Code. Like literally you can start talking to it. You can just say like, what do you do? Or like, what can you do? And Claude Code will probably tell us like, I can build you any software you want. So here it says, here's what I can help you with. I can do code, I can do files, I can do Git, because you guys know what Git is now. I can do research, automation, AI. So like it can now do stuff for you. Um, if yeah, I'll stop there. I won't rant too much. Um, cool. We're at 6 o'clock, so we'll keep moving here. So it says, what are you working on? I'm not going to say anything yet because uh, I want to show you guys what we're going to build today because I just realized I didn't show you. So if everyone can take a second to come back to me, and feel free, please, to read the rest of this doc. I'm going to skip over it, but there's some cool stuff in here. I'm going to show you all what we're building today, and it's relevant to what we do as a community. We are building a software startup today called Church Serve. I didn't come up with the name. And for the record, Claude generated this whole document for me. I did work on it for about an hour, telling Claude what to do, but this document is generated by Claude. So I hope that gives you guys some confidence in what Claude can do. I came up with the idea, Church Serve. It's a volunteer scheduling software for churches and nonprofits. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to sell software to churches. And yes, I'll drop the doc link. We can sell software to churches, and the software that we sell to them is the ability to manage their volunteers and automate their volunteer operations much easier. We actually do this here in Atlanta, and I think we have our own software, and it works really, really good. Um, I've noticed that we don't have this in other places. So churches are chronically underserved by modern software. They have real operational needs like scheduling dozens of volunteers, sending reminders, and tracking attendance. And they're willing to pay for a solution that actually works. This is a real business that you can launch today. So here's our prospectus from Claude. Our target customer is churches and nonprofit institutions who manage volunteer programs. Our price point is $199 per month per organization. Um, Payment uses Stripe, and today we're going to set up Stripe. The technology that we're going to use is Next.js, Supabase, Resend, and Stripe. Okay, the tooling that we're going to use is Claude Code. I did type this via superset here. I'll tell you more about this in a minute, but just ignore it for right now. We're going to use Claude Code, and we're going to deploy it on a technology called Vercel. All right. And so we're going to hopefully be live here in the next 1 hour. I feel pretty good, and I'm not going to take a break right now. So we'll keep moving. Here's our product requirements document, PRD. This is a word that all of you need to get used to hearing, a PRD. If you have an idea for an app or a SaaS right now, you need to write a PRD like immediately. That's like the first thing that you should do. Go to ChatGPT, go to Claude and be like, hey, help me write a product requirements document for my software idea. My software idea is for busy dog owners, and it is a app that connects people who work from home and want to walk dogs for people who don't work from home. Help me write a product requirements document to outline all the features that I need for my dog sitting, mobile app idea. Okay, I just made that one up. But if I'm you, maybe you have a business tool or an internal tool or an idea that you've been thinking about. We'll go to Claude and write a very bulletproof, tight product requirements document. The tighter your document is, the better Claude will be at planning and executing your product idea. So, another part of startup entrepreneurship and software building is staying focused. If you are like me and you have a ton of ADHD, it will be your enemy. Stay focused. It's very hard because once you see the power of Cloud Code and how easy it is to build software, you're going to be like, oh my God, let me build this, let me build this, let me build this, let me build this. And you're not going to build anything because you're going to chase a bunch of rabbits. I still struggle with this daily as a professional. And I'm just telling you straight up, like, stay focused. Let's roll. So here we go. First, we're going to do a landing page and onboarding. So we're going to have a public landing page, which is a home page that markets what our product does. We're going to have a sign up flow. Our sign up flow is how users are going to create an account with us. And then we'll have volunteer management features where we can add volunteers, see a volunteer directory, email notifications when volunteers are onboarded, send SMS and text reminders, schedule creation, volunteer assignments, scheduling dashboards, automated reminders, and integration with Stripe so that we can charge churches to onboard into here. We'll give them a 14-day free trial. We'll give them a billing portal, and then we'll make sure that all of the features are locked behind a paywall. I'm sure that there's a lot of volunteer coordinators on this call today, and they're like, oh my God, this would make my life so easy. And you're also probably thinking like, who's going to pay the $200? That's a funny one. But point is that we can sell this to nonprofits. We can even tighten this down and sell it directly to like animal shelters and animal homes. Like that's a real business that we could sell this to who would likely use the software. And we could even, provide value to them by helping them recruit more volunteers. So notice how we can tighten down the niche and go after these niches of businesses. Uh, if you're interested in learning more about like marketing, sales, stuff like that, there's a lot of content on my YouTube channel where I talk about like how to take a product to market and how to actually market it and get users and scale. So, anyways, we'll focus here um, on the product requirements. Cool. So what we're going to do now is tell Claude what we want to build. So heading back to Claude Code, okay, so inside my terminal, I'm going to say, or excuse me, I'm going to type the letter slash. When you type slash, you unlock all these different modes that Claude Code has access to, like agents and advisors and branches and blah, blah, blah. Like, don't worry about all this stuff. I never even use this stuff right now. The one that we care about is the plan feature. So type slash plan inside of the Claude Code terminal and just hit enter. And what you just did is you've enabled Claude Code plan mode. So Claude, and I'm gonna make an opinion for a bit. Actually, no, I'm gonna assert my belief, and I believe this is true. It's not even an opinion. Claude Code is hands down the best AI model for computation, reasoning, engineering, problem solving, software engineering, like the hardest parts of human life. I think Claude Code is the best because Claude Code can not only reason, but it can argue, it can challenge, it can create its own assumptions, validate them, hypothesize. It can create very strong hypotheses, test its hypotheses, and then reiteratively test new hypotheses until it arrives at the optimal solution. Like Anthropic and Claude is absolutely goated if you are doing anything. And I firmly believe that Anthropic is going to be it is hands down the winner when it comes to AI-based computing. I say all that to say Claude is very good at helping you plan products. It actually thinks like a real product thinker and it has a very strong personality. I don't like ChatGPT and I've completely abandoned ChatGPT because ChatGPT is way too much of a yes man. It does not adapt. It poorly formats. It doesn't really get better over time. And I just feel like it's a very lame, bland personality, and it doesn't really push the boundaries of like human reasoning. Whereas like Anthropic is like, or excuse me, and Claude is like a true scientist at your fingertips. And you will see the power of that in just a moment here. Um, when we talk about hallucinations, which I see there's a question in the chat, like I don't mean to say this in a light way, but like Claude is very good at checking itself for hallucinations. Like you will notice throughout this experience today, Claude will actually backtrack and check itself again. And then whenever you tell Claude to go backtrack and check itself again, it will uh, not identify hallucinations, but it will challenge itself in a way where it will catch itself hallucinating and it will fix it. It's pretty damn crazy. So let's roll. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff, and things are going to get a little bit tricky from here. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to just copy everything. I know it's going to be kind of sketchy, but we're going to copy everything. And I'm doing this because I want to be like, quote, quote, like we have a saying in my company that we want to be dumb about stuff. And I want to be dumb about this in that, like, I just want to copy it and paste it to Claude Code and be like, yo, Claude Code, build this. So I'm copying everything right here. I just selected it all. And then I'm going to come to Claude Code and I'm going to Command V. And you'll see here that Claude Code says pasted text. I'm just going to hit enter and stop talking. All right. Are you starting a product from scratch? Or do you have a Next.js project already initialized? Obviously, we're starting from scratch. I'm going to hit enter on scratch. What UI do you want for church serve? I want Tailwind plus Shadcn, excuse me, Tailwind only, or Chakra UI. I love Tailwind and Shadcn UI. Both, oh my goodness, both of these are UI component libraries that have really beautiful like components already built out for us. So I'm just gonna hit one, okay? All right, just hit enter. I didn't hit one, okay? For SMS reminders, which provider do you want to use? Twilio, Resend, or Decide Later? As you can see, Claude Code already is recommending me APIs that can handle some of my functionality. I don't want to use Twilio today because Twilio requires me to onboard a billing method, and I need to generate like a A2P phone number, and there's a bunch of compliance hoops that you have to jump through to get in on Twilio. So I don't want to set up SMS, but you can do it later. Resend is a lot easier to set up, and we can have that set up today. You can even see that Claude Code is reasoning with us. Go email only for now. Skip SMS and V1 to keep your scope tight. That is the mentality we have to have as developers or as software founders. We need to keep our scope tight. And I know everybody here wants to build like the next Uber or like the next Airbnb, but we have to keep our scope tight and ship product that actually works. So I love this mentality from Claude. And you can even see here it says requires separate account. Although it recommends it, it still challenges itself and says maybe you should just keep SMS in V1. Okay. Um, and remember, or excuse me, also worth mentioning, this is a bland vanilla base Claude Code setup. We have no skills. It doesn't know anything about my style. It doesn't know how I like to develop software. As you use Claude Code, it will learn about how you develop software. It will learn about your skill level as well, based on how you talk to it. I have seen Claude Code ask me questions because it knows that I'm a developer, because the way I speak to it like a developer. Sometimes I'll literally say like, hey, make sure this line of code exists or change this line of code. So it adapts to my skills and will challenge me like bilaterally, if that's the right word, and it will challenge me based on my experience. So what I've done so far is just added my preferences, and now I'm going to submit my answers. We still have like 81 of 82 people that I've seen, so I'm happy with the retention so far. Okay, so bash command, node dash dash version and npm version, all this stuff. Do you want to proceed? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit yes and don't ask me again because I don't want Claude Code to always like interrupt me. So it always will do that. It will always say like yes, do it this time, or like yes and don't ask me again. I would just say do the one that says don't ask me again. Okay. Let me know if you ran into any issues. I do see a world where some of you may have run into an issue there if you're following along. And furthermore, after today's session, I will give you guys a link to join a WhatsApp community where if you have questions or errors or etc., like you can post in that WhatsApp community and I can help you whenever I have time. There's also other members of the community in that WhatsApp group who can help you out. So I imagine if you get stuck, you might want to ask for help. You can ask me, or to be honest, like what you should do for the rest of your life, screenshot, paste to Claude, and say, help me solve this. And just get good at doing that, and you will, you know, dominate life and be able to solve problems faster. Okay, so I just got a prompt on my other screen. I'm just typing in the password to my computer. Cool. Okay. If you have any questions, like now is the time to be asking as we're in this kind of waiting period. What's happening under the hood right now is that Claude Code is scaffolding, which means like writing all my code files to set up my application. Setting up an application takes a lot of code and a lot of like configuration. It's probably where the majority of like the setup goes. So it does take some time for Claude Code to scaffold. Another thing is that I actually pasted in like an entire app, right, into Claude Code. So I think it's probably trying to build the whole thing right now. That's not like the best way to be building software. You should try to build it in increments. But there's nothing wrong with pushing the boundaries of AI and demanding more from it. However, it may come with some downsides, like having to test all of what Claude Code has done. However, you can challenge Claude Code and say, hey, write me a checklist of, write me a checklist test plan based on everything that you implemented so I can make sure it's all working. And Claude Code will literally generate you a checklist of stuff that you can check yourself to make sure that, you know, it's developed all the features correctly. All right. So this is going to be a big one. Stick with me here, and I'm going to explain a lot of this stuff. Okay. So that when you guys are building your own software after this session, you know what's going on. Let's get it. Here's Claude's plan. Church Serve V1 implementation plan. Build Church Serve from scratch, a volunteer scheduling, $199 a month. It's a greenfield project with no existing code. Okay. Stack Next.js 14, Supabase, Tailwind, ShadCN UI, Resend, Stripe, and Vercel. That's exactly the technology stack I wanted to use. Good question in the chat. Do you already have accounts with Tailwind? There's no account needed for Tailwind. It's an open source library that just exists. You don't need an account for Tailwind. For Resend, you do need an account, but we'll do that together. We're not done yet. So here we go. Project structure. What Claude Code is saying here is this is the structure of the files that I have generated for you. So church serve is a folder. I know it's a folder because in the world of software engineering and computer science, anything with the slash after it means it's a folder. Like church serve slash something means it's something inside of a folder. So here we have a folder called church serve, and it's going to generate this folder on my computer. Inside of church serve, we have another folder called app. This is how all React applications are built. This is standard project scaffolding for React applications. It's very standard. Inside of app, we have a folder called marketing, which has layout.tsx and page.tsx. .tsx is a file format. You guys might have seen like .mp3, right? .mp4, .move, .xls, .docx, right? You guys know about what files look like. TSX means .typescript. Essentially just means it's a React file folder, or excuse me, it is a React code file. TypeScript is a type of coding language for React apps. And all that's saying is that it's generated these code files. Okay. So that same concept applies to all of these things. All it is saying, hey, Aleem, this is the project that I made for you, and it has all of these pages and stuff in it. If I'm you guys, I would definitely like go one by one and read through all this just so you know what's being generated. Okay. So there's a lot of other folders here too, like app. We have API. So these APIs are all like functions of our app that do stuff when people interact with our app. Like, look, Stripe checkout, Stripe portal, scheduling. So these individual files of code represent unique functions in our app. Okay. I hope that makes sense. You don't need to know what's going on in it, but I do recommend that you challenge yourself to learn it. That will only make you stronger. Okay. I'm going to move on. Now, the next item here is database schema. So remember what I said about databases at the beginning of today's session. Databases are big spreadsheets, and each spreadsheet represents one type of data, one data type, or one object. Okay. You typically don't combine spreadsheets, right? Say you guys are, running a candy store. You might have multiple spreadsheets. One spreadsheet is like your inventory list of all your inventory, right? Hershey's, I can't even name Hershey's, 100 grand, Hershey's Kisses. I don't even name a bunch of candy, okay? Skittles. You will have one row in your spreadsheet for every piece of candy that you have. Then you might have another spreadsheet that has all of your orders or transactions, right? Each of those spreadsheets represent different data types, and each of those spreadsheets will have different columns at the top. A database schema means what are the columns in each of those database sheets. Databases use a terminology called tables. A table is just a fancy word for a sheet. Okay, I'm trying to like make analogies based on what you guys probably know. Okay, so a table is a sheet, and we have one sheet called organizations, and you'll see here it's explaining to us one per church. So every organization is a church. Inside of that sheet, we have these rows. We have ID, name, time zone, owner ID, and the owner ID is a mapping or a relationship to auth.users. You guys can probably like decipher what that means. It means that someone has to own the church, right? Whoever signed up for the application, like whoever signs up for our app, like say it's like a volunteer coordinator, someone needs to set up like Santa Clara, someone needs to set up Orange County, someone needs to set up Marin. Like there should be that one person who maps to the organization. Does that make sense? So all it's saying here is, hey, we're going to have a column for the owner ID or the person who's setting up the church, and the organization will be mapped to that person. That way, if Aleem sets up the Marin County church, you know, Zane from Atlanta can't see the Marin County data. It has one owner, okay? That's a concept in database design called relationships and foreign keys, okay? So this is called a foreign key or an association to the organization. Just understand that concept. All right. So since I explained it to you guys for one table, I would like you to assume that that's the same for every table. We have a table called organization members, which links users to orgs, ministry categories, customizable per org. I don't know what ministry is. Uh, we should probably change that. So I'm going to copy this. Volunteers, service schedules, schedule assignments, subscriptions. This mirrors the state of Stripe. So I actually don't like this ministry categories because I don't know what that is, and I don't like it. So I'm going to copy it, and we'll make an adjustment. RLS strategy. This means row level security strategy. Essentially, it's just saying here's how we're going to secure your database. All right. And then we go into implementation phases. Phase one, scaffold and infrastructure. Essentially, Claude is explaining to you exactly what it's going to do. It's like your own little employee that's saying, hey, manager, like, this is what I'm going to do. This, and this. I'm not going to explain everything, but essentially, all you need to know is like, it's doing this work for you, and it's going to do it in phases. Phase one, scaffolding. Phase two, authentication and onboarding. Phase three, billing and Stripe. Phase four, volunteer management. And it's going to go through each one of these phases and it's going to develop the app for you. We also have environment variables where we have individual, how would you explain this? You have individual values that your app needs to read for configuration. For example, we have Supabase URL. Essentially, what this means is, hey, Aleem, set me up a Supabase database and then tell me the URL that I can read and write the data from, right? Um, Supabase anon key, that just means, hey, give me the keys to your Supabase. Essentially, that's all these three values are, is it says, hey, Aleem, go make a Supabase account and give me the keys to it. Similarly, it wants us to go create a Stripe account and give us the keys to it. It says resend API key, resend from email. Essentially, your environment variables are your API keys. Whenever you sign up for an API, you will get a key. Like that's like your little, like literally imagine a key. Like you give it a little code or a password, and that's what allows your app to connect to that API and actually do stuff from it. Okay. So these environment variables essentially are like hidden keys. You typically don't put this in your app's code. You put this separately on the server. So this is going to live like on our computer RAM, like the memory of your computer. It's not going to live in your code because you don't want to put your API keys in your code. Otherwise, other people can like crack open your code, take your API keys, and run up the bill. You know what I mean? So these environment variables live inside your computer memory. And I will set these up soon. All right. I'm going to blast through the rest of this stuff. Key shared utilities, verification checklist. I love that Claude Code does this. It always gives me a checklist of like things I should look for to make sure that my app is working. And I'll kind of skim through it for right now. So long story short, I'm going to go ahead and click yes, auto accept edits. I know that I didn't like the whole ministry categories thing, but I just don't have the time right now to fix it because we're on pace and I don't want to fall off pace. So I'm just going to hit yes, auto accept edits, and let's run this thing. All right. So you can see here, phase one is in progress. Do you want to proceed? I'm going to always do yes and don't ask me again. Okay. So it's having some issues. It says node not found. Okay. But it does look like it's giving me a solution. So I'm going to say yes, proceed. And I'm always going to try to do the second option, like yes, like allow and keep allowing. It doesn't always have to be like this. Like this really is when you're initially getting it set up. You have to give Claude Code permission, and it's honestly a good thing that you have to do that because otherwise it will just do literally anything, and it's best if it asks for your permission. I appreciate it, Samir. Thanks for the words. I'm not sure how this is gonna go. We got fingers crossed here. I'm keeping it raw with you guys. Whenever you're seeing, whenever we're waiting, it's a good time to ask questions in the chat. One question we get asked a lot is like cost, right? Like what's the cost of running all this code? Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's cheap, but like I will say that if you budget $200 a month, you're going to be just fine. Like you'll be way under 200 bucks a month. If you're building a full-on application, like um, every day for 4 hours a day, I'm in Claude Code. Like half as a CTO, like I literally spend 4 hours in Claude Code and then 4 hours doing marketing, sales, admin, meetings, stuff like that. And I run up about $150 of Claude Code tokens a month, working in this 4 hours a day. Um, and I write a ton of code, like with the 4 hours a day that I put in. So I would recommend budgeting about 200 bucks a month if you are going to go super hard. Um, and just always remind yourself that like, A, you're going to get left behind if you don't invest in it. You're going to lose a lot more than 200 a month if you don't, challenge yourself. And then B, if you were to hire an engineer, even in India, Pakistan, it'll cost you 3, 4K a month. And you know, it's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run for you to build it and be in control of it yourself. A lot of my experience has been in guiding entrepreneurs off of like hiring developers off Upwork and Fiverr and, challenging themselves to do it. I have seen my friends literally who are non-technical, completely non-technical, build their own software using Claude Code on their own. And it's really impressive what they can build. I say all that to tell you all that you're more than capable of doing it yourself. And yeah, you can pull it off. Okay, so it's mad at me for some reason. Okay. It's mad at me. It says Node.js isn't installed on this machine. You'll need to install it first. The quickest way is via Homebrew. Please run the following in your terminal. Okay, so it's telling me to do some stuff. Or if you prefer NVM, do this. I'm actually really happy that I'm doing this on a brand new computer because a lot of you are likely you probably don't have Node installed unless you're a developer and unless you've been doing like software engineering before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my terminal. Oh, actually, I already have my terminal open. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold Command and then the letter T. I'm going to open a new tab in my terminal. Okay. And what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to type the word brew and hit enter. I have brew installed on my computer. You probably don't. So what I'm going to do is show you guys how to install brew by opening Claude. Yes, Nader, I absolutely will. I'm going to open Claude and say how to install Brew and Node.js on my Mac and kind of show you guys my thought process. Okay. So if I go back here, it says Node.js isn't installed. Once Node is installed, come back and I'll continue building. So here we go. It says, here's how to install Homebrew and Node.js. Open terminal and run this. So I'm going to copy this, go back to my terminal, paste it and hit enter. It says checking for sudo access, type your password. Okay, I'm going to hit enter and let it do it. You could ask Claude to do it for you, but like this is something that I would just want to do myself because I like knowing my system configuration. If you're not technical, you can probably just say Claude like do it for me. But I like to do it myself. So here we go. It says installation successful. Now it's going to say run brew help to get started. So the next thing I'm going to do is just type the word brew and hit enter. And if I get all this stuff right here on the left, it means that brew is installed. If you didn't have brew installed, it would probably give you an error and say like brew not found or something. So brew was found. So that's good. Now what I'm going to do is say install Node.js via homebrew. So you can just say brew install node. That's a command that we can run. Here, let me move this up to the top. Brew install node and just hit enter. And it's going to go download node for me. You're probably like, what the heck is node? Node is a server-side JavaScript framework that allows you to write JavaScript on the server. Node.js is a very popular coding framework to write your own backend APIs and functions. So for example, when we were on Resend earlier, right? Email for developers. You'll see here the first item in the list is Node.js. Node.js is JavaScript technology for sending, or excuse me, is JavaScript for the server. So all this code that you see right here is written in Node.js. In order for you to like run and test Node.js, you need to install Node on your computer. And that's literally what we're doing right now. We're installing Node. The way you can tell if you have Node installed is just type the word Node and hit enter. And if it like hangs up and if it kind of sits here for a second and then gives you this caret, now I'm typing, like now I'm in the Node command line. That means I have Node installed. It says, welcome to Node version 25.9. I started developing at version like 7. So like it's crazy like in 10 years, like how many more versions have come out. If you want to exit the Node command line, hold control and hit C. So essentially, if I type the word Node, I can see Node here. The reason I was able to see that is because I ran brew install node and I installed node. Brew is a package manager for Mac that allows you to install different like packages very cleanly. So I like using brew because most technologies out there are installable via brew. Like for example, say you wanted to install like the Ruby coding language, or yeah, say Ruby, you could just do like brew install Ruby and hit go, and it will literally install Ruby for you. But I'm gonna exit out of this so I don't do it. But my point is like brew is a package manager, and that's the reason why you needed it to download Node. Yes, you can download Node.js directly from their site too. I think that's perfectly fine. Um, but like I wouldn't be surprised if like long term you were building more stuff and it said like, yo, go install something via Brew. But yes, somebody asked a really good question. You can just go type Node.js in Google, go to the nodejs.org website, click Node.js, and you'll see right here that there's commands directly from here. From Node's website. I just got an incredible question from Sophia in the chat. I love that question. Is NPM the equivalent for Windows? No, it's not. Um, if you have, so NPM stands for Node Package Manager. So think of it this way. Brew is a package manager for Mac. Okay. Brew is a package manager for Mac. Think of it as like a delivery man for like Mac software. NPM is a package manager for Node. That's literally what it's called, Node Package Manager. So when you type the word NPM and hit go on your terminal, you'll probably see a bunch of stuff. This comes with Node.js. When you install Node.js, either from their website or via Brew, you get NPM already. So it has nothing to do with Windows. It has nothing to do with Mac. It comes with Node. So NPM is what you use to install like um, libraries and APIs and stuff like that. Let me show you an example. Um, like if I go to resend and I click on docs and say getting started, you're probably going to see something like Node.js Quick Start. Inside this Node.js Quick Start, you're going to see something like npm install resend. Okay, let's find it. Okay, it's right here. You see this npm install resend. Essentially, what that means is like, hey, NPM, hey, package manager, hey, delivery man, go find me the resend library and download it to my code base. Like bring it to my code. So npm, if you go to npmjs.com, this is essentially like a big library. Think of it like your county library, but inside npm is just a crap ton of code that people have pushed up here for you to download easily. Like you can find an npm library for Stripe. So you'll see here that Stripe as a company, like this is actually Stripe, they pushed a bunch of code up to npm for like the Stripe library. And you'll see here there's like 8,000, or excuse me, 8 million, 8.9 million weekly downloads. So obviously it's a very like popular package. As you guys get more experience with programming and you start building more technology, you will start to think like, oh, I wonder if there's an NPM package for that. Um, yeah. And then I'll also address the comment just now, like companies are now moving away from Node and towards Rust because of CPU utilization, which translates to large cost savings. Like yes and no. Like I think companies that are like running really cost intensive and memory intensive software applications with a ton of scale, like when you're spending $100,000 a month on AWS, then yeah, like maybe you are moving from Node.js to Rust. You can get your spend from 100K to like 20K. But like for us as engineers, like excuse me, for us as startup founders, like the last thing you guys should be thinking about is cost savings. Like in my eyes, I'm sorry to say, but that's just an excuse of taking action. Like focus on getting users, focus on building software before like trying to say like, hey, there's cost savings here, there's optimization here. Like we optimize after we scale. Like there's nothing to optimize if you don't have users. So like I just don't want anyone to get caught in the trap of like, hey, this is why you shouldn't use this technology. At the end of the day, everything's opinion, but like my opinion is that you should take action and not create more problems that aren't problems today. So let's keep rolling. So anyways, we have Node and we have NPM installed. Those are all great questions. I love the dialogue. Um, and those are all installed. So now we can go back to our Claude Code session and we can tell it to run it again. I'm going to tell Claude Code I installed Node and NPM. You can proceed and hit go. We got 68 now. We're dropping like flies. Why y'all gotta go? Stick with me. Stick with me. It will be worth it. You will tell everybody at work on Monday when they say, "What'd you do this weekend?" You'll be like, "I launched a startup and I'm quitting this job. I ain't gonna be here that long." That's what you're gonna tell everybody Monday morning, as long as you stick with me today. Maybe, maybe not. All right. Yes, and don't ask again. What do you think about Base 44 compared to Claude? So, that's a great question. I'll answer it while I'm here. So, Base 44 is a fantastic AI builder. I think it's more beginner friendly. It's built on top of Claude. So, it's not that like you're using it instead of Claude. It's still built on Claude. And I think the designs, like the design system of apps built with Base 44 is much better. Um, I like using Base 44 to like prototype things really quickly. But like if I'm actually like launching something like production, like I prefer to do it in Claude Code. I know that for many beginners like y'all, you might be like, oh, like I would rather use something easier, but like I promise you, once you kind of push through like the first 2 weeks of learning on Claude Code, you're never going to want to go to any of those other tools because when you work with Claude Code, you are controlling the code. Like it is your code on your computer, you manage everything. Whereas when you work with Base 44, you work with Lovable, you work with Replit, you work with all these other technologies, like you're at mercy to like their features, their cloud, their platform. And like if they run out of money or like they stop raising funding or anything like that, like your app goes down too. And I think that really matters. And I know that a lot of us want the easy way out, but like when you control the code yourself, you're going to be a lot happier long term. But I do really like Base 44 and I do really like Super App. I think both of these technologies I use every day to do prototyping. But for my real application development, like if I'm actually going to build something, I'm building it with Claude Code. But I do like using some of the other tools for like quick prototyping. Um, I love the next question. Do you recommend API usage billing or subscription billing when you first download Claude Code? You should try the subscription billing with Claude Code Pro. I heard like, look, I think there's literally a news article, Claude Code no more pro subscription billing. Like this literally just happened like 5 days ago. Anthropic cuts off the ability to use Claude subscriptions with OpenClaw and third-party agents. Maybe it's just for OpenClaw. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. Maybe I think they just pulled it off for OpenClaw. So you should be fine with the subscription-based billing. I would recommend subscription-based billing because it's only $20 a month and it will stop you if you ever hit the limits. Whereas if you do API-based billing, it will just run your card until it stops, it hits its limit. And its limit is a lot higher than $20 a month. So I definitely recommend pro subscription-based billing. Why did Claude not install Node for us? That's a fantastic question. Generally, Claude Code won't make changes to your computer's operating system. A, it will if you tell it to, but B, it's just like programmed not to touch your like core computer, right? And I think that's a good thing. You should be happy about that because like if it could make changes to your core computer operating system and install like low level, software into your computer, like it could install a bunch of random, bugs and stuff and malicious viruses and blah blah blah, like if it wanted to. So anything that's like OS related or like operating system related, like it's not going to do it for you. And I recommend that you do it yourself. Like don't let the AI like mess with your computer too hard. It's not anything to like worry about for real, because like everyone is doing it. And if they were to mess with you, it would be really bad for them. But like that's why I didn't do it for you is because it won't make changes to your actual computer for you. All right. We're still on phase one. Um, I kind of regret just pasting the whole thing into it, but I'm also very happy because um, you guys are seeing how powerful this is. And this entire application, I'm not joking you, would have taken multiple months to build back in 2015. But today in 2026, like it will take less than an hour. There is a max on number of tokens available. You go to your Claude Code console and you can look at your API usage and your rate limits. Generally, the more money that you pay to Claude Code, like we can actually go do that. Claude Code limits. Generally, the way that it works right here is that the more money you deposit into Claude Code, like the higher your usage tier is. So you go tier one, tier two, tier three, tier four. Essentially, if you deposit $5, you're in tier one. If you deposit 40, you're in tier two. If you deposit 20, 200, you're in tier three. So the more money you kind of deposit into Claude Code, the higher your your rate limits go. So if you ever run into limits for like less than $40, my next recommendation is to just deposit 40 and then you'll get into tier two. And then as you get more serious, you can get up into tier three and four. Our app Closer Coach, we ran into a lot of rate limit issues in the past. So now we're on monthly invoicing, and I think our OpenAI bill is like $1,500 per month or something like that. But we have like enterprise level support and enterprise level usage limits now. So when your app gets to scale, you can always hit up OpenAI or excuse me, Claude, and they'll even reach out to you when you start pushing real limits, and they'll say, "Hey, like let's get on a call," and yeah, you can get on and negotiate with them. Okay, so the cool thing is that we're finally on phase three. If you see my screen, we're on billing and Stripe. So I'm pretty happy about that. It's moving along. Scaffolding is the hardest part. I think at this point, all it's going to do is generate features. So um, another thing I'm kind of worried about is like hitting my usage limit. Like I really hope it gets me through because that would be pretty unfortunate. Um, so I hope someone didn't jinx us by asking what our token limits are. Let's see how it goes. Any more questions? Definitely type in the chat. I'm here for you. Is the VS Code extension the same as the one we're using now in the terminal? Yes, it is the same. It totally is the same. It's just inside of VS Code. Could you spend a few minutes on how to approach code reuse effectively in Claude Code? Um, so as you get more experience as a engineer or like as you have exposure to the actual code, you may kind of naturally like have the intuition to tell Claude Code to reuse the code. However, what I do is I tell Claude Code, hey, this specific feature, we're going to use it a lot more in other parts of our app later. So I would recommend I tell it like implement this code modularly um, or as a service method. These are like vocabulary words that you'd only know if you're an engineer and like you've spent time, writing code, like things like implement it as a service method, implement it modularly, implement it in a reusable way because we'll reuse it later on in our code. Or like if, for example, if I'm building a UI, like if I'm building an interface and I say, hey, pop up the same modal or pop up the same pop-up from the other part of the app, I would say, hey, we already have this design like as a pop-up somewhere else in the app. Don't copy the code again. Make that like refactor the original code to be reusable and just show the exact same modal. Just make sure it's reusable. Don't copy the code again. So like these are like mental models that like I have naturally developed as someone who's written code by hand for a while. But for y'all who maybe not be technical, but you may understand the importance of reusability, the only thing I can tell you is like be proactive about it and that is something that you shouldn't take for granted. Like tell Claude Code, like, hey, make this reusable. We're going to use it again. Um, because that will obviously help your code quality, your reusability. It won't bloat your code base. And then if like you hire an engineer later on and they come into your code and like they see it, they won't be like, yo, like, why is there so much extra code? So my answer to that is just like you have to develop the intuition unless you already have it as someone who's an engineer. Kieran is asking a fantastic question. Did you already create your Superbase project? No, I did not. We definitely should do that. Um, let's do that. That's a great idea. Uh, I just want to make sure it flows into our session, but let's do it. So open up Google Chrome and then in a new tab, go to Supabase, SUPA base. It's not super, it's Supa, like Supa base. Um, Javed, how do you iterate on UX? And also, so nice to see you and an honor to be in front of you. Nice to see you. Anyways, how do you iterate on UX? I'll show you. But what I like to do is if I'm building a mobile app, and I actually do think I saw you say something about wanting to build a mobile app.
Correct. Yes.
No worries. I don't know why it gave me that. Okay. So one really cool website, and I can give you guys maybe my password if I remember it. It's called screensdesign.com. Screensdesign.com is super cool. These guys have like put together a collection of 2,400 apps, and they've screenshotted literally every screen inside of the apps. I can try to give you guys my password. Uh, I can try to give you guys my password so you can log in. It's only 20 bucks a month. But like essentially you can go into any app in their directory and they have a lot of really popular apps too. For example, like Ladder, like the workout tracking app. I'm not sure if you guys use this, but like you can go into very popular apps, you can see their revenue, their installs, and like see how popular these apps are. And then you can just scroll and look at all of their screens. So what I do is I'm not even joking. We fired our UX designer last month. We were paying him like 1% equity and like $4,000 a month. And I just started like coming into screens design for 20 bucks a month. And I would just screenshot like literally this screen. I would just screenshot it and just tell Claude Code, hey, Claude Code, like design me a screen that looks like this. And I literally would just go into Figma, get a bunch of screenshots of popular apps on screens design, put together like my own like collection, like a collage, and then just literally paste it right here, like just literally screenshot it, paste it, and say Claude Code, like design this page to look like this. I attached a screenshot, and you wouldn't even believe like how much more beautiful it made our app. Um, and it's all kind of stolen like an artist, if you will. That's like one of my techniques is like just find apps that are doing really, really well. Find software that already have a ton of users because they've done the research. They've probably paid the UX designer, the $200 an hour. Like they've done the heavy lifting. So like, why not just steal like a scientist? And I think that's how you can keep your team lean, your cost lean, and like just build proven UX. So that's my strategy. Like I just rip from proven products. Good question. Let's roll into Supabase and then I'll try to find my here actually let me just try to find my password right now. I'm pretty sure it's Alim at Ambitious Labs and then it's this password. No, maybe it's this. No, I'll find it later. And if somebody wants to reach back out to me or something, I'll put it in the doc. How about that? This doc, I'll put it in here later. Um, Just don't tell anyone. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go to supabase.com, supabase.com, and we're going to set up an account. You should be able to use a free database. You're not going to pay any money, so you can keep your wallet in your pocket. Hit start your project, and then you can continue with GitHub or create an account. I'm going to continue with GitHub or not. Okay, I am going to continue with GitHub, and I've already logged in and created an account. So I already have an account to Supabase. You guys can go through the hoops of setting one up. It is a good idea to set one up now, though. Um, and then what I'll do is hit new organization. You guys can go ahead and create an organization, just like type your name and just make sure it says free $0 a month. I already have one called We Route It. It's like an old project. And I'll just hit new project inside here. And here, let me move a little bit slower. So you guys will create an organization. I already have one called We Route It. It's an old one that I have set up. I'm going to click new project right here. And then here, I'm going to type church serve, and I'm going to generate a password. I'm going to copy that password and then put it somewhere safe. Like, let me put it on a notepad over here. I'm not going to share my password with you guys, uh, but I'm going to put it somewhere safe. Da, 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 da. Where is it? Oops. Okay, hold on. Still trying to put it somewhere safe. I'm just texting it to myself at this point. All right, cool. So I put it somewhere safe, and then the region, I'll put Americas, enable data API, and I'll keep this one off. Like I won't change anything. Then I'll hit create a new project. This will take a little bit of time to create the project, but it will work. Um, it redirects me. Oops, accidentally named it church server, but that's cool. So it does look like it's setting up. It says status healthy, and it's kind of doing its thing. Just real quick, my ADHD can't help but look at this command that's happening here. npm run build, this command requires approval. And what this means is that my app is done and it wants to try to run it. So I'm going to hit number 2, and it's running npm run build. And my gut tells me it's going to have an error that says Supabase account not connected, Stripe account not connected, blah blah blah. It's gonna yell at me and say you need to set up all those accounts, which is why I was like intentionally waiting. I kind of wanted it to error so that we could do it. See, look, it says same issue with resend, Stripe APIs Yeah, so it's getting mad about Stripe and resend, and that's probably because we never set it up. So I don't know what's happening here. So build succeeds. It's doing a bunch of stuff. Let's just let it do its thing. So right now we have Supabase set up. What you can also do while we wait for that is go to resend.com and then click get started here and log in. You can log in with GitHub or log in with Google. This is totally free too. And I actually just created an account here the other day. But you can have Supabase and resend accounts set up. And then right here, you'll click add API key, and this will just generate you an API key. Um, if you guys want, you can just reuse mine for right now. It's free, or you can make your own. Um, just go to resend.com and just make your own API key. So at this point, you should have your Supabase and you should have your resend API, or excuse me, you should have your Supabase and your resend account set up. All right. So I'll go back to Claude Code. We're almost through here. It says, okay, ChurchServe is fully built. Here's what was delivered. What we built: 25 routes, 0 errors, clean build, structure at a glance. It did all this stuff for us. And now it says fill in.env.local with your Supabase, your Stripe, your recent, and your app credentials. Push the DB schema to Supabase using these commands. And then in the Stripe dashboard, create product, blah, 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 run locally. So let's do this stuff. How am I going to show you guys how to do this? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, can you edit .env.local for me if I give you the values? Yeah, go ahead. Share the values and I'll fill them in. So here's what we're going to do. List out the values that I need to give you. Okay, so it's listing out all this stuff for me. All right. So let's do it. So it says first things first, next public Supabase URL. So we're going to copy and paste it right here. And we're going to put an equal sign. Then I'm going to go to Supabase and go to project settings, API keys. I always get this part wrong. And yeah, I feel like I always change it. Project settings, API. Yeah. Oh, no, we'll go to data API. I'm pretty sure it's this. Yeah, go to settings, project settings, data API. I'm pretty sure it's this one, API URL. We're going to copy this and put it right here. Okay. So I sent it that one. Now I'm going to say next public Supabase anon key. I'm going to paste this, say equals. Then I'm going to go back to API keys. Excuse me, data API. I feel like they always change this stuff. Give me a second, I'll find it. Okay. Yeah. So you go to API keys, legacy anon, service role API keys. Let me make this bigger for you guys. Sorry if you can't see it. Okay. Anon public. I'm going to copy this and then paste it here and hit enter. Okay. And then Supabase service role key. Okay. I'm going to copy this, paste it, and hit equals. I know there's a lot going on. It says same page service role key, keep secret. Okay. It's right here. Service role key. I'm going to hit reveal, hit copy, and then I'm going to paste it here again. Okay. We're just going to go one at a time. Stripe secret key, Stripe publishable key, Stripe webhook secret, Stripe price ID. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy this stuff. Oops, no. We're going to say Stripe secret key. And this is where things are going to get a little messy. Oops. Stripe secret key. Sorry, let me oh no. Sorry, I think I messed up here. Let me just type Stripe secret key. Okay, it's kind of mad at me. Give me a second here so I can get set back up. Stripe secret key equals. And yeah, like you shouldn't really be doing this, like especially in front of an audience, but I'll do it anyways. So now what we'll do is we'll go to Stripe. Stripe is our payment processor. You guys should be able to create an account, but this might be something that you have to do after. And to be honest, I'm gonna pause my screen share so you guys can't see my Stripe because I do have like real business on here. And I will just go create a sandbox account and I'll even show you guys how I do that. Just give me a moment. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I hope you can't see. You can't. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go create a sandbox. Okay. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Cool. So I'm in a test Stripe sandbox, and you'll see on the right-hand side, you have API keys. Another thing you can do is go to the top, type APIs, and go to developers API keys, and you'll start seeing a bunch of like test data here. So essentially what Stripe was asking me for was a secret key, right? That's like what it was asking me for. So I'm going to go back up and say Stripe secret key. I'm going to say set dot local or dot env dot local values. Stripe secret key. I'm going to copy this. Let's see what it says. Okay, good. So Stripe secret key is this. And then we'll say Stripe publishable key. We'll say Stripe publishable key equals. Okay. Okay, now it says, do you have Stripe webhook secret and Stripe price ID? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to product catalog. We're going to create a product. It's going to be a product called Church Serve Pro Access. It's going to say unlock unlimited access to church serve features. It's going to be recurring price of $199 per month. So it'll set the billing period to monthly. Hit add product. We'll click on it and you'll see right here we have product ID. Grab the product ID and we'll say Stripe. Oh wait, hold on. That's not the right thing to do. You need to go to price ID. You go to price and then you hit the three-dot menu and click on copy price ID because product is different than price. So copy price ID and you can say Stripe price ID equals this. Okay, and now it wants a webhook secret. So we can go to the top, type webhooks. Okay. And you should see this really cool, sophisticated black type of interface show up here. You'll click add destination. Um, Let's go back to Claude. Okay, so I'm a little confused here, and so I'm glad that you guys get to see me in the flesh. So I don't really know what destination I need to set up. I just know I need to add a destination. So here's what I'm going to do right now. Check this out. And this should be your guys' mental model as well. So we'll go to webhooks because I know we need to do that. I see here it says create a webhook, but I don't know what to do from here. So I'm going to take a screenshot. Oops, I'm going to take a screenshot, Command Shift F4 on Mac. I'm going to grab my screenshot. I'm going to paste it and say, oh shit. I wanted to ask a question about it. Let's see if it's smart enough to know. I was going to say like, hey, Claude Code, here's what I see on Stripe. I don't know what you want me to select. What destination settings do I need to set for my webhook? I was going to ask it that question. Um, okay. So hold on. It says like, see, this is where Claude can get a little bit weird. It's like, there's no webhook handler yet. Let me check the database schema to understand the subscription model. The app needs a webhook handler. Let me build it first. But before I let it build it, why do we need a webhook handler? Can we get away with not having one, or will it break the app's functionality? Let's see what Claude says here. Okay, it says yes, you absolutely need it. Removing it would break the subscription gating across the app. So then let's say, okay, go ahead and implement the webhook handler and tell me what webhook settings to use on Stripe dashboard from this. So notice how we kind of have a conversation with Claude, right? Like you want it to be your friend. You're not just like being transactional with it. You are adopting it into your life, like as a friend or as a developer, and you'll start to see yourself just honestly speak to it like a human. And that I think is what's the most stickiest part. Like when you start using it yourself, like, in the dark at night, you're just going to be raging with so much dopamine because it's like your friend who actually is helping you build. And when you see the output, like right now, you guys are probably still like, oh, what's going on? But like when you see the output of all this work, you're going to be like raging with dopamine, and it's so much fun. Okay. Stripe dashboard settings. On the screen you're on, step one, select event source. Choose your account. Okay. API version. Okay, so let's do all this. API version, we're going to change it to this 2026 325.dahlia. So we'll say 325.dahlia. Events to select, we'll just copy this and paste them. So what it's doing right here, and I'll explain to you what this means. But essentially what this means is like if a customer goes to their Stripe billing portal, because Stripe will give every customer a billing portal through email. You guys might have even done this before. Like, say you go to a software and you go cancel your subscription. Stripe will then send events back to your backend. So you're going to have your server and Stripe has their server. Say a user goes to their Stripe billing portal and cancels their subscription. Well, how does your server know about that? That's what Stripe webhooks do. They will send you an event, like for example, customer.subscription deleted. If a user deletes their subscription, it will send your backend an event, and my backend will take that event and be like, oh, Javed deleted his subscription. Well, I'm going to update his user on my database to say access denied so that Javed can't like access the features again after he went to Stripe and deleted it. So it creates a sync between Stripe and our backend. I hope that makes sense. Um, so boom, I went ahead and did all that. And now I hit continue. I'll say destination type webhook endpoint. So see what it says? Send webhook events to a hosted endpoint. Essentially, that just means like I'll say church serve backend as a destination name, and then the endpoint URL. Right now, I don't really have a domain name. Uh, so I'll just fake it. This is not going to work. We're going to need to set this up on a develop on like an actual server for it to work, and we don't have time for that today. But I'll just go ahead and paste that, and then I can even you can talk to Claude about setting that up. After saving, Stripe will show you a webhook signing secret. Uh, Add that to your environment as Stripe webhook secret. The funny part is I didn't see that. Okay, right here, signing secret. See it right here? Use the secret to verify that events come from Stripe. I'm going to copy this to clipboard. Oops. I'm going to make sure I put a equal sign. Okay, I'm going to paste this right here. We're almost there, y'all. Stick with me like 10 more minutes and we'll have something. Okay. Do not share secrets in the chat. Okay. It's telling me to roll it. It says it's not going to store or use this value. So what we can do is this. We can go to Finder on our computer, and this is without having to download like Cursor or a code editor. If you have a code editor, you can just do this in a code editor. We'll go to church serve in our code right here. Either you can open it in Cursor, but you want to know something funny? I don't have Cursor installed. So what we're going to do is what we're going to do is this. We're going to open a new tab in our terminal, and I'll type here. Let me show you. I'll hit LS and hit enter. What that does is it lists out all the files and folders in the current directory that you're working on. And I have church serve right here. I know I'm probably losing a couple people on this step, but gonna have to live with it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna say cd church serve because that's the name of the folder that I'm in. I'm gonna type ls again, and what we're looking for, yeah. So what I just did, I'm typing ls.al, and you'll see here that we have a file right here called .env.local. You have two options here, y'all. One, you could open this in a code editor like Cursor or VS Code. We don't have access to that right now. So either what you can do is add it through the command line. But honestly, one thing I'm going to tell Claude to do is be like, do it. Um, do it. Update the value. I'm forcing you to. And I take the risk. Let's see what if it does it, because if it does, then um, I won't go the hard way. All right, cool, it did it. So if Claude Code doesn't do it for you, just say I'm forcing you to, and it will work. So cool. I'm trying my best not to leave the Claude Code environment so you guys can see that like we're not writing any code and we're not gonna have to look at code. All right. So look, what other environment variables do we need? Okay, so it wants resend API key, and we're done. So we'll hit resend API key equals, and we'll go back to resend. I already had created an account. I'll copy the API key right here. I'll hit enter. And then it says we need cron secret. It says, what is it? Any long random string you generate used to authenticate API cron reminders endpoint. So I'm going to say cron secret equals, I'll just say make up a string and set it for cron secret. I don't care what you use. All right, all environment variables are now set. Great. How do I run the app? It's going to give us a command to run, npm run dev. Can I just say run the app? Yes. Okay. It says app is running at http://localhost:3000. Essentially, that just means like it's running locally on your computer. Let's cross our fingers and see what it built. Okay. So it didn't do anything. Uh, so I'm gonna take a screenshot and be like, "What's up, man?" Let's say I opened the URL and this is what I see. I'm not joking. Like this is literally what I do. Like I don't overcomplicate it. I try to push the boundaries and just pretend to be dumb. Okay. It says your real homepage is at app/marketing/page.tsx. I always like to read the reasoning. The root page app page tsx just needs to redirect there. So it made a small mistake and it's going to clean it up. It says refresh the browser and you should now see your marketing page. So I'll go back here and refresh and I see the marketing page. But the thing I don't like about it, it's cool, but I don't like the fonts, and I think it looks pretty ugly. So what I'll do is I'll grab a screenshot again, and I'll paste it here and be like, the marketing page looks ugly, and the fonts appear to not be loading. Can you make sure we're loading in external fonts from Google Fonts and redesign the landing page to be exciting and attractive? Okay. So this is me just being spoiled and just telling it like, hey, thanks for building this, but I'm honestly not very happy with it. I think it was probably doing so much that it might have missed a step, it might have not like loaded external fonts. Because one thing I'm noticing is that these fonts look like it's Times New Roman. It doesn't look like it loaded in the external fonts. And these buttons also don't look like they're the right buttons from Shad CN. So I think it may have not loaded in the components. So you can even see in the dev tools console here, we have some issues. So let's just demand what we want and let's let it refactor the code and see what happens here. Okay. The font isn't working because global CS. I hate how it does that. The font is working because global CSS maps blah 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 and the layout uses blah blah blah. I'll fix the fonts and fully redesign all the marketing components. So now it's fixing itself. Yes, I have the recording will 100% be released. I'll let the team figure out how to get it, but I'll be posting this on my YouTube unlisted as well, so you guys can access it there. All right, so it's doing some cool stuff. Okay, refresh the browser. Here's what changed. Let's go refresh. Okay, looks a little bit better, but the font is still not loading. Like I'm just gonna screenshot it again and be like, still looks like the heading font is not loading. Other than that, it looks good. check this out. Let me check how Tailwind V4 actually handles font utilities before guessing. So that's like a perfect example of what I was telling you about how Claude will hypothesize and like challenge itself and try to, you know, um, try to keep itself on the right path. Like it's just really good at like its intuition. Boom, there we go. Now it looks like the font is generating nicely. Great, great, awesome. So this is coming out nice. 14-day free trial, no credit card required. Start free trial, see pricing, like volunteer directly. Like it has literally a full-on landing page for us. Now we can click on start free trial. Okay, it says create your account. So I'll create an account using one of my email addresses. Let's see what happens when I click create an account. Okay, check your email to confirm your account. So I bet it did send me an email, but one thing that I want to do is disable email verification. So I'm going to tell Claude disable email verification. I don't want users to verify their email. I do know one thing it's going to tell me to do is to go to Supabase, go to the left-hand side where it says authentication, and then you go to sign in providers. And on sign in providers, it says right here, confirm email. You can just turn this off and hit save changes. So this will turn off uh, the confirm email. I think that's all we need to do. That's it. No changes required. Okay, great. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our app and we'll just do that all over again. So I'm going to hit refresh, start free trial, alimcodes@gmail.com. Well, I already used that one. So I'm going to do alimcodes +1. And it still looks like it wants me to confirm my email. I'm going to say I turned it off in Supabase, but it still wants me to confirm email. I see the toast box. I think this is literally the only blocker we're going to have, and I'm sure we're going to be off to the races after this. This is very typical whenever you're building a new app in Supabase. Okay, look, I knew that was the case. The toast on line 30, this is called a toast right here. The toast on line 30 is hard-coded to say check your email to confirm your account, regardless of what Supabase does. With email confirmation off, sign up returns a session immediately. So we should redirect to onboarding instead. So it found here in the code that the toast was hard coded. So now what I'm going to do is just type Aleem codes +2 and hit create account. And now it looks like it tries to take me somewhere and it crashed. Okay. I'm not worried about it. We're going to be just fine here. We're going to be just fine. Let's click start free trial. Okay. and it keeps crashing every time we hit start free trial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Claude, okay, I created an account and it redirected me to slash onboarding, and I see a blank white screen. This is one of the side effects of like having Claude Code do too much, is that it did so much that it left a couple bugs, but I'm still very confident that we'll get through it. So what we're going to do is you can click on these issues down here. Um, None of these look, interesting to me. So I'm going to right click the page, hit inspect, and then go to console. And if I refresh the page, it crashes. When I refresh the page, it crashes. I don't see any. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. So let's see if Claude Code can figure this out. Almost there, y'all. I'm positive. Just a couple more minutes. All right. So it says done. Let's go start free trial. Set up your church. So look, now the onboarding is working. Let's go. Church name. Let's say Santa Clara. Time zone. Los Angeles. Okay, ministry categories. We never ended up really using this, but like, say we wanted to add, maybe it's kind of like departments, right? Like volunteer for parking, right? I think we can relate to that one. Complete setup. Okay, failed to create organization. So now I'll screenshot that and say, when I clicked complete setup, I got failed to create organization. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is go here, right click, hit inspect, and you always just want to look at the logs. So if I click complete setup, it just looks like I'm getting a internal server error. So if I go to network and I hit onboarding, it just says fail to create organization. So I don't know why it might be doing that, but it says the service client is fine. The error is swallowing the real Supabase message. Most likely the migration hasn't been applied. Oh, that's correct. Okay, so we need to apply that. Um, we need to apply that. So you need to run the migration manually. The easiest way is via the Supabase SQL editor. So go to the Supabase dashboard and go to the SQL editor. So essentially what this means, y'all, is we need to set up the database. And that's exactly the problem. So we'll go to Supabase dashboard, hit SQL editor, and then it says click new query. Okay, so I already have new right here. That's good. Run this in your terminal to copy the SQL. Okay, so we're going to run this in our terminal. Okay, so we'll go here. All right. And then we're going to copy all this stuff. Okay. Copy everything after the command. We'll hit paste. And then we'll hit run right here. And hopefully it just says success. All right, nice. It says success. Okay, so that's done. Good. So now I think once we come back to the app, we click complete setup. I think it's working. Boom. Welcome to church serve. Nice. So it created the church. One thing that we can do to test this is go to Supabase. Okay. And then on the left side, you can go to table editor and you'll now see a bunch of tables pop up on the left right here. And remember earlier, 2 hours ago, thank you for sticking with me. I told you that each one of these database tables is a separate sheet. So if you click on organizations, you're going to see the organization that I created, right? That organization is right here. All right. And then one thing I can do for you all is I can actually give you guys a way for you to log on to my app. This is a little advanced. I'm not going to teach you what I'm doing, but essentially I'm going to set up a quick tunnel for you guys to all click on a link and use my app. So watch this. Um, da, 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 da. Mm, it wants me to create an account. You didn't have to do that in the past. I'll do that later. But essentially, here's what I'll do. Watch this. So, sorry, I'm going to go back here. Nice. Earphone just dropped a cool message. But anyways, let me kind of push through this. So look, my organization got set up right here, and my app is working. So I have a dashboard right here, number of active volunteers, services this week, average coverage this week. I have a volunteer tab on the left-hand side. I can click add volunteer, and that gives me the ability to add one. So I'll put my brother, Aryan. I'll put Aryan at test.com. No phone number. I'll say he's a parking guy and not available Fridays. Add volunteer. So you'll see here volunteer added. That added the volunteer to my database table. And if I go to Superbase, I can verify that he's added to the volunteers table right here. So literally, y'all, we have an application right now that has authentication. It's reading and writing to the database, and it can technically work. I can click new schedule and create like, Friday night. We can put a date, ministry parking, volunteers needed 10, create schedule. Okay. And what I can do is I can say, um, let's update the dashboard screen to show a weekly calendar view and a heat map of all the volunteers who are scheduled for that day of the week. Okay. I'm just showing you like one quick prompt of like how you can modify the design. So essentially, I'm going to tell it to build a little heat map. But right now, we built some basic functionality where we can create a schedule. There's 10 slots open. You can click here, click manage volunteers, and it looks like you can actually assign these schedules to volunteers. I'm sure people are thinking in the audience right now how they could modify this to fit their needs. Maybe if you are a logistics coordinator, volunteer coordinator, REC coordinator, you guys can probably use this tool to, manage your people. You can send emails via resend and do a couple cool things. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna let this one prompt finish, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And I would love to understand, where everybody landed today, or if they just plan on revisiting most of this. But as you can see, it wasn't that hard, right? Like I had to configure a few environment variables that was a little bit sketchy, but to be honest, it's not something that you can't navigate on your own. And I know the app doesn't look as pretty as we want it to, but to be honest, like making the app look pretty is honestly the easy part. All you need to do is like copy screenshots of other apps, tell it to make it look like certain apps, and it's way easier to like make it look pretty. The hardest part is getting the functionality working. And that's what you should all focus on. Like, don't focus on making it look pretty, like, focus on getting your functionality off the ground. And as you can see here, I have my heat map that just got generated. So if you tell it to generate certain components and you give it screenshots, you can see that you can get the app to look pretty dope. Like, look at this, week of April 6th, and it gave me this sweet heat map of like, the entire day of the week. I have one volunteer, and maybe I could change like Friday night. Like I could change this to like um edit. See, that didn't work. And that's exactly what I would tell Claude Code. Like, hey, the edit functionality is not working. Go ahead and do that and implement that next. But one thing I'm thinking is like, imagine you could set up schedules like, say uh, parking, parking duty for Friday, or then you could do like, inside REC room on Friday, and you could create these different schedules, and each schedule has its own team of people. Um, there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and then from here, y'all, since you have the baseline set up, it's way easier to like add more features on top of the baseline. Like one thing I noticed is that we actually don't have the Stripe uh, billing set up because it does look like we have a free trial. So maybe after my free trial ends, it will give me the paywall. So those are things that we can iterate on top of as well. The last thing I'll teach you all today is how to push this code to a public URL so that you can actually launch this and share it with other people. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll go back to Claude Code and say, push this code to Vercel. Okay, just say that. And then what we'll do next is we'll go to vercel.com and we can use Vercel, I think, for free. Yeah, we can use it for free. We'll hit start deploying. We'll log into Vercel with GitHub because that will allow us to link our GitHub repository. So once you're logged into Vercel, it will allow you to import uh, your GitHub repository, but we haven't done that yet. So I'm going to go back to Claude Code and say push this code to Vercel. But the first thing it's going to tell me to do is to push my code to Git. So let's see what it tells me to do. And yeah, I'm kind of rushing because I know it's 8 and you guys have all been very patient. So I'm going to try to sprint through the rest of this. Okay. It's 8 for me, by the way. I'm on EST, so I know it's a little earlier for you. Okay, cool. So literally what it's doing right now is it's like committed my code to GitHub. So it created a GitHub repository for me. Now option A, Vercel CLI, easiest, no GitHub needed. Run this yourself in the terminal. npx Vercel. So let's go ahead and do that and see what happens. Okay. It says need to install the following package Vercel. Okay, to proceed, type Y. I'll hit Y. Okay, it says continue with Vercel. I'm going to log in with my Vercel account. Almost there. Social account is not connected to Vercel user, probably because I'm connected with GitHub. So I'm going to hit continue with GitHub. Okay, beautiful. Now it says install the Vercel plugin. Yes. Vercel, y'all, is just a very easy tool that allows you to push, allows you to deploy or publish your React web apps or your Next.js apps to like the World Wide Web. Like you're gonna get a public link that I can share with you all, and you guys can all download my app. Okay. Uh, link to existing project. No. What's your project's name? Church serve. Boom. Cool. Just take all the default settings, just hit enter a bunch of times. Okay. Right here. It just gave me a production link. Okay, but I don't think it's gonna work just yet. If I copy this and I open up Google Chrome and I paste it in a tab, okay, it says deployment is building. So it's actually compiling my code right now. And you can see here, this is my Vercel. It's compiling my code and it is going to deploy it once it's done. And you guys will see how fast that is. But it does look like we ran into an issue. And I think I know the issue. The issue is probably going to be something that's like config related. Okay, so I see an issue here. I'm going to be super dumb and I'm just going to copy this, Command C, and then go back to Claude Code and be like, Build failed when I pushed to Vercel. This is the error I got. Just literally be super dumb about it and just paste it. Like don't overthink it. And eventually like you guys will find yourself in this groove or this flow where you're like telling Claude Code something, something breaks, you copy, you paste, and you just have this cycle going on. Um, and that's the definition of vibe coding. Like vibe coding at its root definition is like just locking in behind the computer and just typing away and just doing one thing after another for multiple hours like we did today, and then you land with a product. Um, so I'm going to take that command it gave me, npx vercel, and just paste it in here, and we'll see where we land. What is Vercel's equivalent on AWS? So Vercel is like a dumbed down version of AWS. If you wanted to do this on AWS, you would need to set up your own what's called CI/CD pipeline. So you need your own like GitHub Actions, your own like AWS S3 bucket, or you may even need to deploy it on like Amazon ECS. It's just a lot more like server work, and honestly, I think it's just way easier to do it on Vercel, unless you are a startup founder and like you're trying to scale, et cetera, et cetera. So I would just recommend doing it on Vercel. Um, okay, now I got another error. Internal server error 500 when navigating to the Vercel link. Let's see what happened on Vercel. What we can do is we can go deployments. Okay, and it says right here, production ready. I have a feeling it's because we didn't set up the build folder correctly. Because it does look like it was set up nice. It's missing environment variables. So the 500 is almost certainly missing environment variables on Vercel. To fix this, go to Vercel dashboard projects and set up the environment variables. That's actually correct. We need to tell Vercel about our environment variables. So the way that we do that is we go to overview, and we should have a option for environment variables somewhere here. Deployment settings. Like this changes every time I look at it. Vercel dashboard, your project settings. Settings. There we go. Environment variables. Add environment variables. So here's what we're going to do is we are going to set up all the environment variables. So very easy way to do this is just to be like nano.env.local, and we'll get all these environment variables right here. It's going to be a little bit of a process, but we'll get through it. We'll grab all the environment variables. And then we'll just paste everything. I know I'm moving fast. It's because I want to see this all the way through. And I want you guys to click on my link to my app, create an account, and I want to show you guys how the app works. And also, I would like all of you guys to achieve this. Oh shit, I just realized that the thing is that this is not the right one. Why did someone say at cost? Oh, give me a moment here. Just got to get that one value and it is not scrolling. So I got to use a different editor. Okay, gave me the dumb answer. You use Vim. There we go. I like. Okay, so Subabase URL, anon key, service role key, almost there. And then I probably didn't get all of the other ones too, the one with the dollar signs. Stripe webhook secret. All right, cool. Now we're good. I'll hit save. All right. And now we'll go back deployments. I'll click on this one and we'll say redeploy, redeploy. Let's do this. All right, build completed. Hopefully this works. Aha, it worked. Let's go. So now we got our app completely published on a public domain, and I'm going to blast this domain in the chat. So if anybody wants to click on it, start a free trial and create an account, I'm going to pull up my database over here and then kind of refresh the page as you guys join. And would love to see a few users, sign up for the app and data start appearing in the database. It's the most exhilarating experience as a startup founder is when you finally launch your product and you get your first user. So I'm going to sit here and patiently refresh until at least one of you sign up for an account. I posted the URL. You should see it in the chat. It was right above Kieran's or Kot's message. It's asking to log into Vercel. That's a good call. I forgot to turn off the uh, I pushed to Vercel and it's asking public users to log in. How do I make it public? I have a pro plan, so I don't think we should have an issue here. Is it asking everybody to log in? Interesting. Oh, for Excel dashboard, your project settings. Never had to do that before though. I've literally never had to do that. Oh, wow. Disable. Okay, try now. I've never had to do that before. I literally just deployed an app yesterday on. Okay, Daryl found it. Daryl, what's up, bro? Nice to see you in here. Cool. All right, now y'all are in. I want to see a couple of accounts get created. Oh, I see a bunch. Cool. We got Al Nazir, boom, boom, boom. We got so many accounts. Nice. So you guys all created an account. Um, nice, Daryl. That's what's up, bro. I'm glad. Um, so we got a bunch of accounts created. So you guys can see that I built an app, and I've gotten some of my favorite. I've got my first users. Honestly, that experience is super exhilarating, and it used to be like you had to go months and tens of thousands of dollars to build a SaaS like this. Um, and now, if you guys start interacting with the app, I see you guys all created some organizations. Ha, someone said, "In Alim we trust." I love that. That's awesome. Church, Seattle, Alameda, Santa Clara, super dope. So you guys are all interacting with the app, and you're seeing data read and write. And we've been on this session today for 2 hours and 53 minutes, and an hour and a half of that was me yapping. So in less than an hour, we built a full-blown SaaS. We have a Supabase database. We have, a front end hosted on Vercel. We have Stripe. We have Resend. Like you guys have all integrated such complex APIs, and you just literally wrote like, I don't know, how many lines of code did we just write today? Like you guys probably all just wrote like 30,000 to 40,000 lines of code. Uh, okay, no, I'm wrong. 5,200 lines of code. Uh, it used to be you had to write this by hand, but we did this all using generative AI. I hope you guys all learned something, at least one thing new. I know that the next questions are definitely going to be around marketing, scaling, and sales. Um, Couple things. At the top of the AI coding workshop document, there are a few links to connect with me and to learn more. If you want to work together on some projects, my email is here as well, Alim at Ambitious Ventures. You guys can reach out to me. You can add me on Instagram. Happy to be friends and be a resource for you all as you guys embark on building software. I truly, truly hope I didn't overwhelm anyone or discourage anyone. I really want you to know that even if you picked up like one thing today, like one thing, even if you just like attempted, you're above 99% of people who are just watching the news and watching YouTube and like watching other people.